You're in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
With Gene and Chris, you're back on the Paracast, but Chris is a remote person today. And not because of his personality being remote, it's because he is not at his studio in Arizona. Right now, you're in California, sunny California.
Yeah, real sunny. Boy, you should see my face, Gene. I got burnt out on the water. Oh, my goodness. We went out on Ron's boat, and I just didn't realize how strong the sun was, bouncing off the ocean, cloudless sky. And, man, did I get a sunburn. Now I'm all peeling. I'm trying not to peel on his desk.
Hey, this is your as yet unannounced guest, but I have an urgent question. If Chris is remote and I can see him, does that mean I'm remote viewing?
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Ron James. And he is something or other. We haven't really identified him yet, but he sometimes is known as a conscious media producer.
Sometimes.
Right. Other times we call him an unconscious media producer.
I think more people have said that.
Yeah.
Or more people want you to be unconscious. But then you'd be just like the U.S. Congress, where most people think the U.S. Congress is unconscious or should be.
Or rendered unconscious, maybe.
Oh, well, they're too busy passing bills that don't do anything.
Yeah.
We don't want to get into politics, though, because we never discuss politics on the Paracast. Except, of course, this is once again our latest NSA edition, because we know the NSA is watching and listening to us. Even though this is only an audio hookup, they secretly turn on the cameras on their computers. But seriously speaking, I want to talk over a few things here. And one of the issues that we always raise here is how people get interested in the paranormal. And I've long maintained that I've really never had any paranormal experiences, but I guess that's only semi-true. I'll give you an example. Back in the 1970s, early 1970s, my first wife and I are together. Her name's Geneva Hagen now, and you've heard her on the show. And she wakes me up one night and says, I just saw a water elemental. You know what a water elemental is, Chris?
Hold on, he's swimming.
Yes, I do know what a water elemental is, Gene.
Okay. So I saw something in the distance. I didn't have my glasses on or my contact lenses. So I said, okay, that's experience number one. Experience number two, we did see a light in the sky that made a couple of rapid maneuvers before it disappeared. That's back in the late 60s. That's my one and only UFO sighting. And if it doesn't sound very detailed, that's all it is. A light in the sky.
Maybe what you saw in the water was a kelpie. or possibly a mer person.
On the Discovery Channel, they had Mermaid, the Body Discovered, and it was a whole docudrama with fake people playing even faker people. And they purported the existence of underwater skunk apes that are more elusive than Bigfoot and live in kelp forests deeper than anything in the state of New Mexico.
Wow.
So it is a remote possibility that we have been shadowed in our evolutionary process by our aquatic, tail-bearing, but possibly breedable counterparts under the ocean.
Yes, but
I'm just wondering, what do they lay eggs and then the male swims over the top and exudes some sort of like sperm-like?
No, that would be fishy. These are supposed to be underwater skunk mammal things. So even though they have fish tails,
you're talking about underwater big feet?
Basically, yeah, they had this whole theory about how man at some point, was fishing out of the ocean and everything, and a bunch of them jumped in and never came back. Right. And then theoretically, they evolved tails and fins, and now they're out there, and the Navy knows about it, and they're trying to train them and use them as a super secret weapon against Chinese nuclear submarine.
Yeah, but in order for them to breed, they would have to have genitalia, and all they have is a tail. So I'm confused.
I have a feeling that evolution came up with some clever way to put little thingies and thingettes in the little tail sections, and they just kind of walk up and go to it. And it's not like laying eggs; it's probably mammalian, like whales do it. I mean, whales have tails; they still have wieners and stuff.
This is a family radio show, and we're talking about thingies and thingettes. But I never finished my experiences.
Well, I was keeping it family rated. I mean, I could see it right now at home. Mommy, what's a thingy?
And the parent says, shut up. You can't use those terms around here.
Yeah, you don't have a thingy yet. Go away.
Right. But let me just talk about the thingy with regard to the water elemental. We were in a living room sleeping when she woke me up that she saw this creature that she called a water elemental. We were not near water. We were in southeast Pennsylvania.
Well,
we were maybe 50 miles from water.
She must have been dreaming.
I suppose. Let me give you the other crazy things that happened to me. Because
if you guys are away from water, then wouldn't it be just an elemental? Why would it be a water elemental?
I suppose something in the characteristic of what she saw. She's not here to tell you. Next time she comes on the show.
Oh, she saw something that looked like water.
No, she saw something that looked like what she said was a water elemental. You're asking me to justify something said by a person who is not here to defend herself when she is here.
True.
Well, technically that's heresy, not admittable, and therefore it probably shouldn't be construed as a paranormal experience.
And the other thing that I do, I have a habit of predicting accurately what dialogue will be uttered by people on a TV or movie show. And maybe because it's all such a cliche these days that I could listen to the show and I'll repeat the dialogue that will be uttered by the actor or actress before they say it. And I do that occasionally.
I've been known to do that too. Actually.
We had something like that happen in the film Dead Whisper, but you're not a ghost. But it was the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, somebody said something, and then later on we found the voice saying the same thing on EVP.
Okay, well, anyway, let's hear the craziest thing happen, of course, is when the first previews came out for this new version of Superman called Man of Steel came out. And I heard the music. I like the melody of what they call the Clark Kent theme from Hans Zimmer. And I thought, well, before I see the film, I wonder how this is going to end. And I don't want to give people a spoiler here because the film is new and people might still be watching it. So I thought, how would this film end? And I came up with a solution, which is a final scene plus go to the closing theme. And I went to see the movie. And it ended almost exactly the way I predicted. The dialogue and the closing. Again, it must be a big cliche, right?
It kind of sounds that way. If the dialogue's predictable, then they're rapidly descending into the realm of cliches, I would imagine.
Well, how often in a movie these days do you hear dialogue that's more than a cliche? Especially a comic book movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on. The average sentence length in a movie script or screenplay is about maybe 4 words, 5 words. So what'd you think? I don't know. I thought it sucked. You did? Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, they've dumbed it down so far that, boy, you'll watch a movie from the 40s where they rattle off 5-minute, monologues. It just doesn't happen that way. People's brains are not set up, I guess, in the modern era to process, amounts of information above 4 or 5 words in a sentence.
I can think of a couple of exceptions. 2 films. The Casino Royale film with Daniel Craig as James Bond and Skyfall. There were lots of scenes there with snappy dialogue, and the dialogue consisted of more than 4 words and more sometimes than a single sentence.
Yeah.
Well, let's say a Silver Linings Playbook was a nice, smart, well-thought-out film that had some really great monologues. So they're still out there. They're just harder to find, and they have less explosions.
Right. Well, of course, in order to have good dialogue, you've got to hire 12 script doctors, each of which gets to do, what, 1 line? You wonder about these films. They've got, 6 or 8 different writers. They've rewritten the script 160 times. And you wonder, okay, shoot the darn thing.
You know what? That's a question that before I came to Hollywood, I asked often. And now that I'm in Hollywood, I totally get it. I think that when somebody is inspired with a creative idea, it comes to them through the ether. And as it comes into the human mind, it already becomes, I won't say corrupted, but it's not in its pure splendor.
Pure splendor indeed. Here's some more pure splendor for you to ponder. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Hey neighbors, summer is just about here. The weather's great. The kids are getting out of school, or maybe they're out of school already as they are in Arizona, and there are many places you'd rather be. But even though you don't want to be at work, business never stops. Well, here's the good news. You can escape the office and still stay connected to your coworkers and clients share ideas, solve problems, get projects done. Just use GoToMeeting with HD Faces. This is the powerfully simple way to meet and collaborate online. With GoToMeeting by Citrix, it takes just a click to share your screen and work on your documents in real time. Try GoToMeeting free for 30 days. For this special offer, visit GoToMeeting.com. Click the Try It Free button. Use the promo code PODCAST. Remember, use the promo code PODCAST for GoToMeeting. Meeting is believing.
Friends, this is Alex Jones for MidasResources.com. For more than 15 years, I have exclusively used Midas Resources for all my precious metal needs. Whether it's bullion or collectibles you're looking for, Midas Resources is simply the best. I own my gold as a hedge against inflation. This Federal Reserve fiat currency could go the way of the Deutschmark and the Weimar Republic anytime. In these historically dangerous times, it makes sense to physically hold gold and silver. Midas already has some of the best deals in the industry. But if you give them a call and mention the radio special, they will give you a list of the day's super specials. Midas brokers are standing by to answer all your questions at 800-686-2237. They also have a lot of informative free literature explaining the opportunities and risk of holding precious metals. They are ready to answer your questions at 800-686-2237. Again, that's 800-686-2237.
Hi, my name is DeRay, suffering from migraines, having Botox injections in my head and neck to alleviate pain, costing $1,500 out of my pocket. I discovered Dr. Ortman and Gentle Touch chiropractic adjustment called Nuka. I'm migraine-free since my first adjustment. Thanks for giving me my life back, Dr. Ortman. I wish they prescribed you instead of Botox.
Thanks, DeRay. Putting the bones back in place is only half of the solution. We design a nutritional supplement program the body can handle, actually absorb, providing nutrients, targeting the problem area. Between Nuka and nutrition, we will have you on the road to a faster and more permanent recovery. Look us up on the web at drortman.com or call 952-303-9124. Let us help you feel better faster. Wellspring Spinal Care at 952-303-9124. Again, that's 952-303-9124. Or on the web at drortman.com.
Weakened by GMOs, stressed out about money, and blasted by the electric environment. Hi, I'm Pastor Jenny, and that was the state I was in back in 2010. Then I learned about RNA drops. I learned that 97% of my DNA that scientists have called junk is actually packed with millions of gene switches that play a critical role in controlling how my cells, organs, and other tissues behave. I learned I don't have to put up with disease, decay, or decline like I'd been conditioned to believe. I began taking RNA drops, a 100% natural formula designed to turn on those switches and provide me with amazing health and joy. Learn more about RNA drops and order a free sample today. Visit rnafreesample.com. That's rnafreesample.com or call toll-free 888-577-3703. Pay only shipping and handling for a free 30-day supply of RNA drops. Get the information you need and the health you want at rnafreesample.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
With Gene and Chris, assisted by conscious media producer Ron James, we're talking here, I guess, about my non-paranormal experiences and a little bit about Hollywood stuff. So you're saying here, Ron, that you get an idea for a film, comes out of the ether or whatever, or maybe because you took ether, depending on your point of view.
As it is in the mind of the person who received it, it's in its second most purest form. If that person is able to take that idea, get it down on paper, assemble a crew, and make the film he wants to make, or any creative endeavor, it is as close to that purity as it gets. But in creativity by committee, which is how things are done, if you've ever watched a movie and just wondered, how could this movie be written by somebody, written by a bunch of other people, and then go through a committee and focus groups, and everything designed to try and make the film better and come out so badly, it's because the original creative purity is diluted more and more and more by all of the things that make us human. A lot of times it's better to be an auteur than it is to sit in this Hollywood assembly line and try to be a part of the bigger machine.
Well, of course, with a comic book movie, you not just have a producer, a director, and a screenwriter, you've got the keeper of the legend of that comic book character that you have to deal with. You have to deal with, for Superman, DC Comics. With Spider-Man, you have Marvel. And you've built up these characters over the years. And there are certain things about them, characteristics, that before you change anything, you've got to go back and get their approval, test it out, test market it, focus group it, check the dialogue. It's a very complicated process, and that explains why those movies are all so imperfect. But speaking of movies, Chris, you were telling me something here the other day that James Fox is on a new movie project with Tracy Torme, and we should give a background here. James Fox, of course, did this great UFO documentary, I Know What I Saw. Then he got involved with the worst TV show on the planet devoted to UFOs called Chasing UFOs for, what was it, National Geographic?
Correct.
Okay. This is the project where two of the hosts, including James, basically disavowed the show before the first episode was broadcast. So we assume James Fox had to do something else. So he's involved with Tracy Torme. What's this all about, Chris?
Well, I'm not exactly sure that they really even know.
Well, that makes it even more dangerous, but that's true for Hollywood. They don't know what they're going to do.
Well, Tracy is a really, really talented, gifted writer. He was the senior story editor for Star Trek New Generation. He came up with the whole concept of the Dixon Hill character in the 30s holodeck episodes. And he also did the show Sliders back in the 90s, which was really well done for a show of its type. It was it was light, it was comedic in many ways, but some of the storylines were quite ingenious about parallel universes, and that was Tracy's baby. He wrote, put it together, produced it, hired everybody, and he did a very good job of that. And, of course, he's probably best known in the field of ufology for his movie Fire in the Sky, which was the feature film about the Travis Walton case. And Tracy is going to be writing the majority of the movie, if not all of it, and it is a feature film. They are really doing a top shelf project here, and I was invited out to do a sit down interview with Tracy, who unfortunately is having some health problems right now. He was unable to be there, so James did the interview. But they have quite a number of people that they've gotten involved, and I'd say 90% of these names are very well respected and well considered in the field. I had the pleasure of touching bases with Ann Druffel, who, of course, is the longtime L.A. area madam of UFO research here in Southern California. She's been at it almost 50 years. She also had, interestingly enough, Gene, the original Polaroid snapshots that Rex Heflin took in '65 of the strange disc craft that flew by his car. By his truck, very, very compelling. I really took a careful look at these photographs, and they look genuine to me, especially the last one with the smoke ring that the object left when it zipped away.
Now, let me just tell our listeners before you proceed. Ann Druffel was a guest on the Paracast on March 11th, 2007. It's available on our archives if you want to hear about it.
Yeah, she's a real sweet lady. One of my heroes. She's really been an unsung hero. Not a big self-promoter, doesn't go around touting her work. She was very, very good friends with James McDonald, of course, who tragically passed away many years ago now. But he was one of the few real mainstream scientists that got involved in ufology, and there is some question about the events surrounding McDonald's death. But it was real fun catching up with her. John Alexander was there, Nick Pope, Leslie Kean. They've put together quite an impressive list of people to interview. I'm not exactly sure where they're going to go with this. The project's working title is 701, which is the number of unexplained cases in Project Blue Book. Tracy also co-wrote the novel Fast Walker with Jacques Vallée. So, you know, Tracy is very up to speed on many, if not most, of the various permutations of thinking in ufology. And, you know, I really look forward to his insight and writing skill in putting a project like this together. I think that there's some real good potential with this partnership. This could be the most important film, you know, in recent memory that's been made about the subject of UFOs. So I really have high hopes for this project. I'm the eternal optimist. I think, like I said, it's a good partnership. They seem to be asking very intelligent, probing questions. Of course, I think James was a little bit freaked out by John Alexander lurking around all day in the shadows, scaring people. I wonder if he had a tape recorder or something. No, but all kidding aside, I was very honored to be asked to come out and be a part of this. And also it gave me a chance to work on some projects that Ron and I have been involved in over the years, that to tie up some loose ends, complete some projects. And it's been, all in all, a very successful trip.
Okay, so any indication yet when this new project might come to the fore? Usually it's a couple of years. Yeah,
it's going to be a while down the road, and I wouldn't have really mentioned anything about it unless James had already mentioned things publicly about the project, so I feel okay at least acknowledging that the project's going on. With projects of this type, they do kind of get a life of their own, and I'm sure such a talented writer as Tracy, you know, at the helm in terms of the creative part of this, I think it's going to be a very, very good project. And this is probably the only two guys that could get together and do a project and offer an invitation to come out and be interviewed, and me not really have an idea of what they were planning on doing. I normally need a lot more upfront qualifying information before I get involved in a video project. I did come out here with virtually little or no information about what I was getting involved with, because I do respect these two guys.
It's the kind of thing that you could basically take this on faith that they will do everything they can to produce something with integrity, which happens so seldom in Hollywood, as we all know. We have Ron James, producer, who, by the way, also handled the videography over at the Citizen hearing on disclosure. We'll get some insights of that later. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast. Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
If you want to get your website online and you need reliable service, first-class service at the lowest possible price, there's only one place to go. Well, DreamHost has a special promotion with our show where they'll offer you unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, one-click web apps such as WordPress, 24/7 support. You can save over $55. You want to know how? Go to dreamhost.com/radio, dreamhost.com/radio. Whether it's personal mail, whether it's business email, you want reliable, dependable delivery, freedom from spam, freedom from viruses. Well, Polaris Mail offers professional email hosting services for your personal or small business use. Each account uses 25 gigabytes of storage, an easy-to-use webmail interface, and full mobile sync. Sign up today for a 30-day free trial at polarismail.com, polarismail.com.
Big business has discovered the preparedness market, and that makes it difficult to know where to go and who to trust. MyPatriotSupply.com is owned and operated by patriots just like you. Has the best prices on storable food, non-GMO seeds, water filtration devices, home canning equipment, survival and self-reliance books, and more. MyPatriotSupply.com has old-fashioned values and the absolute best customer service in the industry. Look for the deal of the day, unique, affordable survival supplies that fit anyone's budget. Get same-day shipping on all orders and free shipping on orders over $49. Call 866-229-0927, 866-229-0927, or visit MyPatriotSupply.com for emergency preparedness, self-reliance, and food independence. Shop with a name you know and a name you can trust. Before it's time to survive, it's time to prepare. MyPatriotSupply.com.
It's time to prepare for an uncertain future at the Midwest Self-Reliance Festival, June 28th, 29th, and 30th at the Valair Ballroom in Des Moines. Tickets are only $6 per day or $12 for a 3-day pass. Speakers include Jackie Clay of Backwoods Home Magazine, Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy of Doom and Bloom, and Jack Spierko of the Survival Podcast. There's 100 free conceal and handgun classes each day, and you'll gain valuable knowledge as you learn how to prepare with beekeeping, soap making, canning supplies, cooking with solar, gold and silver, seed banks, and water purification. There's even a free apple seed shoot for the kids. Check out the Longevity booth and the health product line with pharmacist Keith Abel, speaking about natural, healthy living. The Midwest Self-Reliance Festival, June 28th, 29th, and 30th in Des Moines, Iowa. Presented by My Patriot Supply and sponsored by Genesis Communications Network. Visit ValairBallroom.com for tickets and find us on Facebook at the Midwest Self-Reliance Festival.
It's hard to imagine when things are going reasonably well, just how quickly things can change. But what would it take? Economic collapse? Massive crop failure? Chemical or biological attack? So many situations could find you in the grocery looking to pick up food for your family only to find that the shelves are empty. There's nothing. Don't let that happen. Act today to make sure that if it ever comes to that, you and your family will be provided for. Visit freezedryguy.com to look at the wide variety of survival foods available. Freeze-dried foods from the Freeze Dry Guy store longer, rehydrate faster, are nutritionally superior to, and taste better than any other long-term storage food available. Visit freezedryguy.com or call toll-free 866-404-3663. freezedryguy.com.
Hi, this is Don Ecker, and you are tuned into the Paracast. Let me tell you what, you're going to hear stuff here that you probably won't hear anywhere else. Hear that, George Snorri?
With Gene and Chris in the Paracast, we've got Chris off in, Laguna Beach in California?
Correct.
Overlooking the waves, hoping there are no sharks there.
Boy, did we have fun a couple, 3 days ago. We went out on Ron's boat, and we just happened to luck out and stumble on a pod of what was estimated by the Dolphin Watch boat that was nearby that took some incredible video. They estimated there were about 6,000 dolphins in this single pod, and I'll tell you, it was one of the most magical things I've ever seen in nature. It was just really just stunning.
All those dolphins. Maybe they are the people or the entities or the creatures who bring us UFOs.
There's certainly a mythos for that, but then again, there's a mythos for everything. We were out there. The dolphin experience was pretty incredible. They were swimming right at the bow of the boat in groups of a dozen or more. They were looking up at us. They were jumping out of the water. One of them even purposely splashed me while I was trying to take its picture. It was just, it was incredible. Everywhere you look, just imagine the sea just churning white. From a distance, it just looked like white water. And then you get close, and it's just nothing but thousands of dolphins just swimming at top speed and jumping in and out of the water. It was absolutely incredible.
The level of their awareness is incredible.
Yeah, it was just one of those moments. I guess it was funny because on the way to the dock, Chris was asking me about, because he'd seen the video from January about a pod of dolphins doing that. I was like, well, they said that it doesn't happen that often, but it's also not that rare. But I guess it's rare enough that the last time it happened was in January. So imagine how strange it felt to take the boat out and just run right into this right after Chris was asking about it. I'm like, okay, well, be careful what questions you ask. The universe is giving you some pretty solid answers.
Yeah.
So is there anything about dolphins that we would call paranormal? Either of you can answer.
I did a film once. It was in the Sedona Film Festival called Dolphiness, and it came from my own personal experience scuba diving with and seeing dolphins in the wild. They certainly have a psychic ability to them. They're as smarter than we are, and it really makes you wonder as you watch the way they behave under the water if they're, maybe their bodies are here, but their minds are somewhere completely different. And the way the dolphins actually hunt and the way they organize themselves in the ocean and the way they communicate, oddly enough, is if you can explain dolphin communication, it also explains a lot of paranormal activity. They just did a finding with dolphins that seems to indicate that because linguists are unable to determine with even the best computers what the dolphin's language is, it stumped people for a really long time. But apparently there's a membrane inside the dolphin's ear that vibrates whenever another dolphin makes a noise. And when that membrane vibrates, it actually creates a picture, an image of what the other dolphin is conveying. So you're taking sound and you're converting it to something that creates a picture in the mind of the receiving dolphin. And that's why linguists can't pick up what the dolphins are saying, because it's a completely different approach to language. And then when you get into telepathy and some of the abilities that dolphins seem to have underwater in other ways of communicating and picking up things that people are feeling, it opens up that whole quantum theory to what's happening outside of our physical realm. And when you open that door and you look at things that are happening in this place, then it could explain a lot of things that we call paranormal. So, yeah, it's an interesting parallel. Is there anything about dolphins or what we know that could identify with paranormal phenomenon? And the answer, surprisingly, is sure, absolutely.
Well, the thing I'm understanding from what you say is they have extraordinary mental abilities, and we're not 100% sure about that, what they can do and what kind of insights they have. And more to the point, if this is beings, creatures on our own world that we can't understand completely, what about visitors from another planet? How would we understand them?
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. And, we don't even know what would a visitor from another planet look like. Maybe it could be here as a tree sitting there observing its neighborhood. Maybe their antenna is transmitting to another galaxy. The breadth of what life can be, just what we see on our own planet, especially when you start looking at the ocean. Look what can exist in the ocean. And these amoebas that only exist near the mantles where the superheated water comes out of the earth, and that's where they thrive. So you're kind of saying we don't really know what life is enough to even be able to say we could identify it if it was right in front of our face. And you're absolutely correct.
Well, even if we have a vague understanding of the people here and other creatures here and how smart they might be, that doesn't mean that similar life forms don't evolve on other worlds. It may be that certain type of life forms are better capable of building civilizations. I'm not trying to be an egomaniac here, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, and assuming that ET is human, okay? Only on Krypton. On Krypton, we know they're human, but when they're in front of a yellow sun, they become super. But that's just comic books.
Yeah, just recently, Morgan Freeman did one of his new Through the Wormhole shows where it was called What Do Aliens Look Like? And they actually did in 3D animation all kinds of different versions of aliens that were based on different environments and different types of life that we know exist on Earth. So, yeah, the variety of life as we get off of this planet, if this planet serves as any example, it's infinite, and it's probably absolutely incredible. And, of course, when we get outside of the physical realm, you deal with energetic beings and light beings and all of the different kinds of creatures and elementals that they say exist in the in-between and on the other channels. It's an infinite variety, I'm sure.
Well, just even realizing that life can flourish in so many ways. And once again, we don't know what kind of civilization. Or is it possible dolphins have some sort of civilization set up? We don't know. We don't know under the sea whether dolphins have their own flying machines.
Well, we're pretty sure they don't.
We assume they don't, of course.
Yeah. I think one of the coolest depictions of an alien life form was in the remake of War of the Worlds. I think that Steven Spielberg did. Remember the scene where Tom Cruise and his daughter are hiding in the basement of the house, I think, with Randy Quaid, and these three-legged aliens come in, so the tripod pilots of the larger tripods. I thought those were depicted very interestingly. The tripod life form as opposed to a bipedal life form. I think that's probably a fairly popular motif out there in the great beyond. It's very stable, tripods.
So E.T. has 3 legs.
Yeah. Maybe.
All right. Sounds like you're having a wild time there. Let's just look further over some of the things that have happened. We're covering Chris O'Brien's L.A. trip, and he's with Ron James, a producer, and he's had some pretty fascinating experiences. And I think one of the things we were talking about just in general before, focusing on the movie business, how badly they've treated the subject of UFOs and the paranormal. Of course, today it's all about reality shows. It's about every one of those shows has to have a payoff before the end. So, for example, on Chasing UFOs, before the end of the show, there had to be something there that was apparently related to a UFO appearing or some new evidence. They had to have a discovery. It was plotted like a very bad science fiction movie. So we see now, for example, as you mentioned before, Chris, that Tracy Torme and James Fox are working on a new UFO documentary. But how do we fix the media perceptions? How do we come out with motion pictures, TV shows that realistically present what's going on?
Well, that's a really good question, Gene, and I think Ron is at the forefront of a movement that is attempting to bring this thing back to a sense of education and normalcy. Ron calls this way of thinking and the people that are involved networking in this regard as conscious media. And unfortunately, we've seen a real trend over the past couple decades of media becoming increasingly unconscious and more premeditated and agenda driven, and just getting, they're dumbing down not only the actual subjects that they're covering, but the way they present these subjects are becoming increasingly lowbrow and unsophisticated. And Ron, why don't you explain your whole idea of conscious media and talk about some of the folks that are getting involved in this particular mindset and trying to sort of jumpstart this whole coverage of the paranormal.
We'll have Ron's answer on the other side. We have Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
Is there a secret UFO agenda? Do strange creatures from the darkest corners of the mind roam the earth? Is there evidence for mind control, time travel, or devious government conspiracies? Find out the inside scoop on the latest conspiracies, paranormal activity, and Fortean phenomena when you subscribe to Tim Beckley's Conspiracy Journal. It's jam-packed with stories, special book and DVD promotions, and the best news, it's absolutely free, sent right to your mailbox. Plus, a bonus free email newsletter sent out every Friday. Simply send an email with your name and address to Mr. UFO at webtv.net. That's Mr. UFO at webtv.net. Find out what they don't want you to know.
When you need it the most, will your generator, power equipment, or vehicle be ready? Gas and diesel fuels go bad quickly when stored, and more than half of generator failures during disasters occur as a result of expired fuel. PRI fuel stabilizers keep your fuel fresh for when you need it most. Nuclear power stations, emergency service providers, and ships at sea rely on PRI fuel stabilizers. And you can too. Call 888-776-9373 or visit PRIproducts.com to find the dealer nearest you.
We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit and carting to a private bank, having it lent back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Hi, Ted Anderson. I'm placing a silver dollar in a book explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
To thank you for being a loyal listener, we have a limited time freebie offer for you. Claim your free heirloom tomato seeds, just pay shipping, right now at 123freeseeds.com. These aren't ordinary seeds. These are heirloom, non-genetically modified super seeds that are open-pollinated and can be grown, harvested, and replanted endlessly. These survival seeds are actually more valuable than gold in a crisis. Go to 123freeseeds.com and you can get an airtight storage packet of 150 super seeds free while supplies last to say thank you for being a loyal listener. First come, first served. Just cover shipping. Go to 123freeseeds.com now to see if your free heirloom seeds are still available. That's 123freeseeds.com.
A little over a year ago, I began to do a lot of research into why, even though I had a pretty good-sized meal, that I was still starving. And my research led me to a well-known fact that most of the soils that we grow our crops on here in the United States and across the industrialized world are almost completely depleted of almost all of the key minerals and trace elements that our bodies need to rebuild themselves, fight off cancer, and be healthy. I then searched out the best vitamin and mineral company out there and discovered Youngevity. The Youngevity products are designed to give you the real nutrition you need, and once you've got that, you don't have to eat as much to be satisfied. I've lost 37 pounds in 2 months, simply getting the vitamins and minerals I need. Check it out for yourself. It's incredible. Go to InfoWarsTeam.com today and order your first canister of Beyond Tangy Tangerine Complete Multivitamin Mineral Complex Dietary Supplement. That's InfoWarsTeam.com.
This is Leslie Kane, and I'm with the Coalition for Freedom of Information, and you are listening to the Paracast.
Okay, we're on the other side right now. Look how fast that was. A quick transition. With Gene and Chris in the Paracast, we have conscious media producer Ron James. And before we broke, Chris asked a rather detailed question of Ron. Ron, you've got a host segment. Explain your answers.
Well, I think the term conscious media has been being batted around since the 80s in a larger way. And I've been asked on numerous interviews what I feel the definition of that is. And boiled down to its simplest form, I think that conscious media is using media products to inform, educate, and enlighten, as well as to entertain. That's the definitive difference between that and average media that is just there to entertain. Now, I have to, in a little bit of a way, defend Hollywood. I'm involved with a lot of very, very conscious people out here, more than I've seen in cities like Asheville and Sedona, people that are actually in this trying to make the real change. You could be somebody who considers themselves conscious and you live a certain lifestyle and you protest against the machine, and that's pretty much what you do, and that's all you ever succeed in doing. But out in L.A., to their credit, I know people like Tom Shadyac, who gave up his entire movie career and his fortune to go live in a trailer and make the film I Am. He did Liar, Liar, and God Almighty, or Bruce Almighty, just a Ace Ventura Pet Detective. He was the writer-director of that with Jim Carrey. And he's a great example of the level of consciousness that is infiltrating Hollywood. But rather than stand in the pulpit and shout out against how wrong and unconscious and evil and deviant everybody in this media business is, these people are quietly making changes. And the changes it's just like any kind of a big ship. And I spent a long time being a radical, thinking that you just had to make a lot of noise and that maybe you could force that ship to change. And in my older times now, I'm realizing that change is affected by taking the existing system and doing what you can to influence it. And so, to Hollywood's defense, there are a lot of people out here trying to do it. And frankly, I've talked to chief executives at Sony all these people will tell you the same thing. In fact, I interviewed a guy named Don Levy, who's one of the big guys at Sony Animation. I've interviewed people from DreamWorks. I've talked to a lot of really big, well-known people, and they all say the same thing. When the people want it, we'll deliver it. And Oprah has made a valiant effort to bring conscious programming to the mainstream, and people aren't watching. It's very sad, but her spiritual shows and her meaningful conscious media stuff, all of us are like, this is it. This is the ultimate of the kind of material that we want to produce and deliver, but it's not finding an audience. And, so you've got to look at the broader social issues. You can't blame Hollywood. These guys are in the business of making stuff that in between they sell toilet paper. And so what we do is filler for what they do. And if an audience is going to watch a shark attack over a spiritual experience with dolphins, you can't blame Hollywood for giving them another shark attack. And so, that being said, there's plenty of people in this industry that are slowly affecting change, and you see it coming out in mainstream shows. You see it coming out subtly in other shows. But what we really need is for the public to get out there and to support the people that are trying to do this work. And frankly, Gene, they're not doing it. They're not doing it in the kind of numbers that it takes to make it to make it mainstream. When Oprah can get on with a whole master class with Deepak Chopra and Tony Robbins and a number of other of today's greatest spiritual luminaries, and it gets so low ratings that they have to refund half the advertising money, there's something wrong with the picture. And the people in Hollywood and the people creating the media, it's not them they're just a reflection of the society that we live in. So we need this whole elevation of society in order to have more and more media doing it. And guys like me that have been producing conscious stuff for a really, really long time and not making a lot of money doing it, but continuing with it, those are the guys that are moving it forward. But there is not a huge living in it. If I were to stop what I'm doing right now and go make the next Girls Gone Wild, I'd be rich by this time next year beyond my wildest dreams.
Well, you did come up with a good idea. What was that? Victoria's...
Victoria's Secret Paranormal Investigations. Yeah, so the idea is that, because I'm trying to fuse conscious media with the mainstream appetite, so I'm trying to figure out ways to make conscious entertainment sexy, right? So we have a show about spiritual enlightenment, yoga, good nutrition, only it's with hot babes in lingerie. So you get to watch as they actually evolve.
You know, it's interesting here as I listen to you. I think one issue that we see here, and that is it's not just producing the great shows, the movies, TV shows. It is the promotion. It is the tie-ins. I mean, you look at a movie like Man of Steel. Supposedly they've spent like $150 or $160 million in product placement. You have all these major companies, from fast food places like Carl's Jr. to Sears, involved in the marketing and promotion of this movie. And that's, you know, a tentpole kind of blockbuster summer movie. But what about the kind of shows you're talking about? Conscious media, all that stuff. Will the studios put that money into the promotion of those things? They can't just take off if you just let them lay out there and are undiscovered.
Well, they are. I mean, NBC recently bought Gaiam TV. That movie, Three Magic Wishes, which was, a lot of people thought it was as influential as The Secret, was picked up for distribution by Warner Brothers. There are people in the big studios that want to be a part of this. They know what's going on. They're having their own spiritual thing. You go to Hollywood parties, and enlightenment is the buzzword, and there's a lot of people that are walking it and not just talking it. But again, and the studios are going to put money where they know they're going to get money back. If you could figure out a way to make the world a better place, enlighten the planet, teach a wonderful spiritual lesson, and sell Coca-Cola, toilet paper, and Big Macs, you would have it made. And unfortunately, that's what it is. The mainstream media machine is fed and made possible by the same people that are feeding us bad food, the same companies that are modifying our foods, the same political system that is causing all of the problems on this planet. So again, the media that we're being fed is not a result of these people that are trying to control us. They're a result of these people that are business people giving us what we've been conditioned to want. So this change has to happen. It all comes down to the same thing. It has to happen on a grassroots basis. It has to happen person by person. And when you change, the person out there changes to the point where they would rather watch Oprah than Kim Kardashian. Then there'll be more Oprahs. There'll be more channels dedicated to making the world a better place. But right now, it's not happening. And so people can say, well, you know, that Hollywood machine is just feeding us crap. People are pretty much used to it. And they have the power. Only they have the power. You can't tell Hollywood, start making better stuff and we'll learn to like it. Hollywood's going to make what people show that they like, and that's their business just like anyone else. If you were doing a radio show about a subject nobody wanted to hear about, you'd have to decide, do I want to keep doing a radio show or do I quit? And most people are going to say, okay, I'll just do a radio show about something that somebody wants to hear. And, you know, when we talk about changing the process, we move on to the citizen hearing on disclosure that just happened. And it's a magnificent example of how the people that are really going to affect change in our society, and again, aren't the ones that are going to stand on the corner and scream. They're not the Sedona people standing on the corner going, oh, I live in Sedona, I'm enlightened, the rest of the world is falling apart. You know, I lived there for 7 years and I still shake my head. The people that are going to affect the change are the people that are getting into the system as it works and using the existing process to move the wheel of this huge ship that is the course of humanity, little by little, piece by piece. The citizen hearing on disclosure, we could talk about it some more, to me was the shining example of how you enter into the current system and you make a splash and you make a wave and you get people talking. It's a fantastic example of how people can affect change. It's a great example of what conscious media really is. And I think that maybe analyzing that a little bit and looking at what it was might help us to see clearly the path for the future.
Now, Chris and I had a couple of shows covering the citizen hearing on disclosure, and we talked about the positives, and there were a lot of positives, and we talked about some of the negatives and whether if we got rid of those negatives, we might have had a much better result. And this is something I'll ask you about. And, of course, you were a hired hand. You did the filming or videotaping or digital recording of the proceedings, and Chris worked with you on that. So we know that part of it was well done, and we'll want to focus maybe in our next segment about how you got involved, how you set things up, and maybe more important here, where do we go from here? What lessons did we learn about the good parts of the citizen hearing on disclosure? What do we learn about the parts that have been criticized? And how do we go forward in making people interested in things like that? More interested, because obviously they're interested in the wacky TV shows, especially the reality shows, which I can't understand, by the way. I guess people like to see car crashes, so they want to see wacky things going on TV. We'll get into more of that in a moment. We have Ron James, producer. We have Chris O'Brien. And we have Gene Steinberg, because you're in
the Paracast.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Nutritious food is real body armor. It builds muscle, burns fat, improves digestion, and feeds the entire body the nutrients it needs. Did you know the U.S. government banned the hemp plant from growing in the United States and classified it as a Schedule I drug to hide it behind the marijuana plant? People have been confused about this plant for over 80 years, and many still don't know what hemp is. So now you know hemp is not marijuana, and marijuana is not hemp. They are different varieties of the same species. HempUSA.org wants the world to know these basic facts and to help people understand that hemp protein powder is the best kept health secret you need to know about. Remember, hemp protein powder contains 53% protein, is gluten-free, anti-inflammatory, non-GMO, and is loaded with nutrients. Call 888-910-4367, 888-910-4367, and see what our powder, seeds, and oil can do for you. Only at HempUSA.org.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
With Gene and Chris. And Chris, of course, is at Laguna Beach, California, having a whale of a time with dolphins, not whales. Maybe there are whales there, too. We'll have to see. We have Ron James, producer. And before we broke for a few pieces of business, I asked Ron a rather involved question about the citizen hearing on disclosure and about the impact and the potential for the future. But before we go on, let's start at the beginning. Ron, how did you get involved in it?
Well, oddly enough, it was about maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that I met Stephen Bassett actually through Chris O'Brien in Sedona. There was some event that Steve was at, and we went and filmed it, and we shot interviews. Carrie Cassidy interviewed him, and I interviewed him in the same sitting. And that was my introduction to Steve. And since then, I've produced a boatload of media with him. We did the 2X conferences together. My film, The Disclosure Dialogues, It Could Happen Tomorrow, that one won Best UFO Feature Film and People's Choice Award at the 2012 EBE Awards down at Open Minds in Phoenix. There's a banner for that film on your website, too. I see you still have up there, so if anybody's interested in it, they can check it out there. So naturally, when Citizen Hearing came along, Steve brought me in at the very beginning to be associate producer and part of the production team. The thing about the Citizen Hearing was that Steve had always had this vision of this very formal event that was modeled as closely as possible to a actual congressional hearing and done in a very orderly way and done in such a way that the format would be recognizable by people in positions of power. And right up until the last minute, he was pulling his hair out, just thinking, I hope I've done this. And for all of its positives and all of its negatives, it was a fantastic event. The evidence was put forth. There's so many people that say, and I've heard this before, I've heard it about paranormal phenomenon, and I've especially heard it about UFO-related phenomenon. And that saying is that if all of this collected evidence was ever presented to a jury in a court of law, they would have no choice but to, upon the preponderance of the evidence, to say that, yes, there absolutely is a cover-up, a deception, and there absolutely is life coming from somewhere other than our knowledge of this planet. So this was that. I mean, this was the opportunity for as close as you're ever going to see to have that evidence presented in as close to a court of law as it was going to get. This assumption and this saying actually materialized into something where, we actually got former members of Congress, some of them very illustrious former members of Congress, to come and conduct this thing. And even though they weren't active members of Congress, and even though it was at the press club and not in Congress, the look and the feel, the order, and the way in which the evidence was presented was nothing like it has ever been done. Steve is of the idea that, this whole citizen hearing thing, it doesn't just have to be UFOs. When there's an issue that we need to deal with as a society and as a country and as a group of people that's not being handled by our lawmakers, perhaps this is the beginning of a whole new genre of resolution. The citizen hearing could be something that resonates and is duplicated through a whole variety of subjects. Let's have citizen hearings on nuclear power. Let's have citizen hearings on whether or not we want the NSA tapping our phones. Let's have citizen hearings on what we really want to do about our issues with Iran and the Middle East. Our political system is failing us. And so this citizen hearing model is something that has shown that you can go and do things in the manner that the system is used to, and perhaps you're going to affect a little more change. It got less ridicule and more positive press than any UFO conference ever wanted to have. It found its way into more mainstream news than anything, and most of the coverage was reasonable. I mean, people weren't laughing at us anymore. People were saying, wow, maybe there's something to this. These former members of Congress issued an official document that called for the UN to open up formal investigations into what's going on with this topic. And they did a few other things like write formal requests for Burroughs to get his medical records back, things like that. So the citizen hearing is a shining example of what can be done when people say, okay, how can we work within this system to affect change? And how can we do this in a way that is going to get some attention? And it didn't light the world on fire to the point we wanted it to. However, it is a historic event, and it's still resonating. People are still going online to the archives and watching them. Newspaper articles are still being written, and the event is still being talked about. And in the halls of Congress, word is, phone calls were made. Louis Farrakhan showed up at this thing, and supposedly he met Roger Lear in the restaurant. And when Roger Lear ran into him, he was on the phone with President Obama, giving him the lowdown on what was going on. So we know that whether our work is visible or not, this format affected the political process in a way that has not been done yet. And so because of that, it's both a victory for the movement and a shining example of how to facilitate change and progress.
You understand the criticisms made about it, that maybe 95% of the presenters were very credible, but a few, when we know their names, were not so credible.
Well, there was a lot of people that wanted to present that to Steve's credit, he absolutely did not let them show up. And some of them are making a lot of noise. And all I can say to that is boo-hoo.
But there's some people who were there that maybe we would have preferred not to be there for similar reasons.
Well, you kind of have to look at it like this. Bill Clinton was a pretty good president. Was he always honest 100% of the time? Well, no, but does that negate his presidency? Some of these people that we're talking about have made tremendous contributions. Rather, they've done things that may or not be completely credible. So because of certain other media projects and certain collaborations, there were some people there, and we were happy to have them. And you can always attack somebody's character, but if you look at the body of their work, almost all of these people have made contributions. You might not agree with everything. They might not have always been 100% on the up and up, but really, who is? At the end of the day,
let's face it, Stephen Greer has problems, very serious problems with the stuff he's done lately. Yes, he's done some interesting stuff with regard to UFO disclosure early on, but I think he corrupted that message severely. And I would highly question, as did a lot of people, having him at this event. I think without him, the event could have gone on just as well or better, and maybe some of the stench would have been gone.
Well, look, Chris and I put out the definitive film on UFO disclosure, and Stephen Greer was conspicuously absent from it. And when I met Stephen Greer, it was very apparent to me that he knew it. And so, it's like we all have our own personal opinions. I think that Stephen Greer has a certain amount of information. Everything that he's done, there's good and there's bad and there's completely honest and there's questionable. We all know that. However, he is still a luminary in the field, and he still did have some valuable information to contribute. So, you kind of got to look at it like that. And I know there was a lot of debate about whether or not that particular person was going to be involved, but we worked with them on Sirius. I don't know if you know this or not, but I was the on-camera personality that hosted the Sirius Red Carpet premiere party for the webcast. And so I actually interviewed Stephen Greer the night of his film premiere. It was the first time I met him, and it was very funny. Everybody makes mistakes. Stephen's been doing this for a really long time. He was doing it when there was nothing in it whatsoever except a fight. And so, I'm not going to defend all the stuff that's out there or even comment on it. But at the end of the day, if that's the only thing wrong with the citizen hearing, then hallelujah.
Like I've said many times on this show, Stephen's message is more important than he is.
The problem is he came to think that he was important, and that the message maybe was less important, and therefore if he's going to be the messenger to deliver that message, it would be a problem. The point being here, though, we can agree to disagree. I think if he was out of the picture, people like that, maybe some of the things that people pointed to wouldn't have happened. Maybe a certain former government official in Canada saying some wacky things on the final day.
Quoting Jim Sparks, like I said, Gene, I was trying to tickle my nose so I could sneeze and do the... but fortunately... It
sounds like my dog when my dog sneezes, just like that.
Yeah, look, there wasn't a person in that room during Paul Hellier's closing that wasn't just going, oh my gosh, what do we do? I had a paper airplane ready to launch his way, but and I did actually on one of the sessions I threw one at Richard Dolan because he just kept going and going and going, and we all wanted to go home, so I just tossed a paper airplane at the stage.
So you are an equal opportunity paper airplane thrower. Believe me, that's hard to say 5 times fast. We have Ron James joining Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast. Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Classic science fiction at its best, available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
Hi, this is Gary Cooper with Midas Resources Gold and Silver. Don't be surprised when the global elite confiscates money from your bank account one day. They have already very clearly telling you that they're going to do it. With what just happened in Cyprus serving as a blueprint for future bank bailouts, if you are concerned about keeping your money, why not consider storing your wealth in gold and silver? Call me, Gary Cooper, at 1-800-686-2237, extension 130. Together we'll discuss your options of buying gold and silver. Again, the global elite have plans for your money, and it doesn't include you. So call me, Gary Cooper, at 1-800-686-2237, extension 130, and I will send you a booklet with 10 reasons why gold and silver could be right for you. Again, don't get caught with money in your account when the next bank bailout hits. Call me, Gary Cooper, at 1-800-686-2237, extension 130.
Oklahoma reminds us there are many kinds of storms in our lives. Nature regularly sends us destructive storms. 24 hours before a storm strikes, people panic. It would be wise to prepare ahead of the panic curve. The food price storm from drought and livestock problems is forecast to hit ridiculous heights by the end of the summer. Wonder if there'll really be a problem? eFoods Direct has a plan to maximize your food dollar and guarantee you will be glad you ordered food. Until June 30th, buy 3 of any food item and receive the 4th one free with free shipping. The guarantee. After September 20th, when you've seen what happened with food prices and shortages, if you're not glad you ordered food, return the food unopened for a full refund. Go to efoodsdirect.com/Alex or call 800-409-5633. Your peace of mind guarantee. efoodsdirect.com/Alex or 800-409-5633.
Springtime is sale time at Herbal Healer Academy. Current customers know this is the time to save big and stock up at herbalhealer.com. New customers, welcome to the web's best place to save on vitamins, minerals, and more. Right now, Herbal Healer's spring specials include our 500 parts per million colloidal silver, all sizes on sale. CoQ10 with Hawthorne, Colon Enhancer, Sea Cucumber, Super Fem and Super Male Plex, plus glucosamine chondroitin, our best-selling liquid CalMag vitamin D, and our colloidal minerals, all on sale for spring at herbalhealer.com. And Herbal Healer also offers certificate correspondence courses in natural medicine. Enjoy same-day shipping and free online newsletter. Log on to our nation's leader in supplying quality natural medicine and education since 1988. Herbal Healer Academy at herbalhealer.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
We're returning to that topic, the citizen hearing on disclosure, with Gene and Chris. Ron James joining us. He produced a video of it, and Chris helped him out. Let's just cover the implications now. So I've seen coverage. Some of the coverage is quite favorable. The New York Times did a really good story about the event. Some focus on the Lulu aspects of it. You know, the Lulu aspects being okay, not so much positive. But from here, what is step 2? Where do we go from here, Ron?
Well, up our sleeve next is actually the contactee hearing. The citizen hearing on disclosure was mainly people who had actual evidence or knowledge of evidence about government cover-ups of the whole issue. The next one is going to be contactee-based, where people that have had experiences and that type of evidentiary presentations will happen. The citizen hearing itself sparked an entire movement. The Congress people involved all put together a letter, the ones that could sign, and put forth resolution that the UN should get involved. So there's people right now working on getting the UN to open formal investigations into what's going on with the cover-up of this type of phenomenon worldwide. So that could be huge. What's really funny about what's happening with the media is there has been such an organized media effort of ridicule for so long that the media still does it. But what they don't understand is that 75% of the people in this country, I'm not sure the exact statistic, but that's about it, have the idea that, yeah, there's probably some sort of extraterrestrial intervention with our planet. And almost 100% believe there's life in outer space, including
yes,
scientists.
But Ron, the last poll I saw was one that came out in connection with the Chasing UFOs show that was commissioned by National Geographic. 1/3 of America believes in UFOs in their interpretation being spaceships. So it's not 2/3, it's not 75%. It used to be 50% back in the 90s and 80s, etc.
Well, you have to look at National Geographic. For one thing, they're the rigidest, most scientific of the channels. If you look at their programming, it's always skewed that way. So, and then putting out a poll on the heels of arguably the most fiasco of a UFO television show. I mean, chasing UFOs and guys jumping over fences. Yeah, it's almost like going to the circus and putting out a thing about who likes peanuts. You know, it's not the same.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say this. I like James Fox, but he's not an action hero. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Ron.
What's really funny is, and I have a recollection, and Chris does too, of a meeting with David Sereda probably 7-8 years ago, where David talked about a show called Chasing UFOs. And the whole idea was he was going to fly around in a Learjet and with a parachute, just in case he had to abandon the plane, and look for UFOs in the sky. And probably, I'm sure there was some ground maneuvers involved in that concept. But it seems to me that his treatments got chewed up and spit out by the mainstream media machines, and they kind of ripped him off and put it into this show. I haven't talked to David about it since then, but I'm sure that he's of that sentiment, especially since the name of the show was the same. Look, if you take all of the different polls, and whether it's 1/3, 2/3, whatever it actually is, it's a significant amount of the population. For the media to continue to ridicule it based on an old paradigm, all it's showing is that they are acting on orders that are obsolete to this point, and even they're insulting the intelligence of the average American that's really paying attention. If you go to the people that have spent 5 minutes watching Ancient Aliens or learning some of the things that digesting some of the evidence, the percentage of people that believe that we're not being lied to goes up exponentially. So when you start talking about an educated public, and then you continue the ridicule factor, it's a clash of cultures that's occurring here. And so this media that continues to make a joke out of the subject, people are just shaking their heads, and they're exposing themselves more and more of puppets of deception.
Of course, when you look at how things are with our government now, we believe them less and less. Now we hear about the NSA and about what they admit is going on, and we assume if that's what they're going to admit, what are they really doing? You know, the approval rate of Congress is what? In the single digits. Nobody believes what they're doing. A bunch of nasty old men who have no clue of what's going on in the world. We talk about the media and where people get their news. So we find, for example, that Comedy Central, the news at Comedy Central, is considered more credible than not just Fox News, but any TV network. No one believes what anybody says. I once theorized that if President Obama tomorrow said, "We're being visited by ET, it's all true," we wouldn't believe him.
Well, that plays right into the false flags, because then the very next day, Alex Jones would be on the air saying, "It's not true. It's the UN disguised as aliens landing on American soil to put us all in trains." You're right. And we're so confused with the stuff we're being fed that the truth is buried in there somewhere. So people kind of have to be discerning. And the more people search, the more they're able to discern for themselves what feels right and what doesn't. And the more people that actually look into this topic, the more people understand. And we all know, that we're being lied to and deceived on almost every level by anybody in power, whether it's a corporation or a government agency or the whole bureaucracy that makes it happen. But at the end of the day, the media can continue this facade of ridicule, but it's falling on deaf ears. I think at the end of my Disclosure Dialogues movie showed President Obama at a mock disclosure. Underneath, President reveals ET presence, and it showed videos of flying saucers. And I ended the film. I said, disclosure, it's already happened. The rest is details. And if you're paying attention, Disclosure has already happened. The collective society has not yet completely caught up, but I think that the presence of ETs being revealed to humanity by ETs is 2 generations away at best, if we survive that long. These races are not going to come down and welcome the barbarians of Earth into the Galactic Brotherhood until we prove that we can survive ourselves. And it's not because there's a pocket of people in LA, Sedona, wherever that consider themselves enlightened and the planet is waking up. It's when the rapists in Somalia and the people that are chopping off heads in Saudi Arabia, when those people elevate themselves to a level of understanding the interconnectivity of the human species, then we can talk about a planet that has evolved to the point where we're worthy of being let out of our cage, so to speak.
Of course, that assumes also that ET is friendly, that it is ET. There's a lot of questions you can ask there, and a number of those questions are things we've talked about in the Paracast over the years, and things I've seen myself in studying UFOs, which is things are not what they seem to be there either. And that ET may be the simplest answer. But when you talk about the media presenting anything, we also have to remember it's not a liberal media, it's not a conservative media, it is a corporate media. We have corporations who exist to make a profit. They're not existing to inform the people. Now, one time in the far distant past, for example, with network television, local TV stations, it wasn't about the profits. It was about fulfilling your obligation to get your license from the FCC. That obligation was to act in the public interest. So the news department, it was hands off. You didn't touch them. You didn't tell them what to do. One day they woke up and decided, guys, we could make money from this. This could be a real money maker. So they had happy talk news, or they have conservative news or liberal news. They simply take the basic information, they distill it, they homogenize it, they change it, and they present it in a way to get the most viewers, the most advertisers, the most profit. End of my soapbox until the next segment. We have Ron James joining us with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast. Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKEsoft.com. Lemkesoft.com. LEMKEsoft.com.
The government's Department of Homeland Security is buying up loads of ammo. At the same time, they're restricting civilians' rights to own and purchase firearms. Can you put 2 and 2 together? Infidel Body Armor can stop every round, including hollow points and .308 sniper rounds, is reasonably priced and fully legal. But for how long? Go to InfidelBodyArmor.com, spelled INFIDEL bodyarmor.com. Infidel Body Armor. Just won't quit.
We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit, then carting to a private bank, having it lent back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Hi, Ted Anderson. I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
The location, Denver Convention Center. Timeline, June 27th through 29th, 2013. The event, the Doomsday Expo. Our world and nation are changing. It's time for an educational experience that will enlighten you and the entire family at the Doomsday Expo, June 27th, 28th, and 29th at the Denver Convention Center. Check out the latest survival products, learn valuable survival techniques, meet other preppers, and meet guest speakers, including Dr. Joel Wallach, Scott Hunt, Jay Blevins, and more. Boost your knowledge with seminars on natural disaster preparedness, long-term prepping, survival gardens, self-defense, off-grid living, and financial planning. Ladies will get a valuable female perspective on family defense and preparedness. There's even a casting call for Nat Geo's Doomsday Preppers, and everyone will enjoy the first dry food cook-off. Tickets are just $14 for all 3 days and a Saturday evening concert. Mark your calendars for June 27th through 29th and get all the details at doomsdayexpo.com. Doomsdayexpo.com. Preparation starts here.
Digestive health is the key to wellness and elimination of toxins. That bears repeating. Digestive health is the key to wellness and elimination of toxins. And Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse is the key to digestive health. Pro EM1 is a powerful liquid probiotic, strong enough to cleanse, gentle enough to use every day. Pro EM1 is dairy, wheat, and soy free, contains all natural and certified organic ingredients, contains no preservatives or animal products, supports a healthy digestive and immune system, supports weight loss, improves absorption of food nutrients, aids in controlling yeast infections, is never freeze-dried, and uses 3 groups of live, viable, beneficial microbes to cleanse and remove toxins. Order Pro EM1 Daily Probiotic Cleanse at Terraganics.com, spelled Terraganix.com, Terraganics.com, or call toll-free 866-369-3678. That's 866-369-3678. Pro EM1, the raw probiotic.
This is Kurt Seven, the author of UFO Mysteries, and you're listening to the Paracast.
Isn't that funny? When I first started working at a radio station, this is many years ago, as news director in suburban Philadelphia, he gave me the bleeds it leads line like the first day. Before you start working here, this is the way we do things. And he went into that spiel. I said, all right, fine. I needed a job. So I did what he told me. I didn't lie about anything. I didn't alter anything. I didn't withhold anything. But we had to do what we had to do. With Gene and Chris and Ron James, we're talking about now, segueing from the citizen hearing on disclosure, and we'll get back to that in the impact, but about the way the media treats anything, and not just UFOs, not just ghost sightings, but anything. Ron, you had a comment.
Yeah, if it bleeds, it leads is just another example of what I was talking about. If society and the people watching and listening were not drawn to that, then it would be if it loves, it rises above. It would be like, hey, the story about the little girl that got a kitten that helped her cure her cancer would be the story that leads the day. Our society does not have an appetite for that. So we again cannot blame the media. We have to take a deeper look, and we have to take a look at ourselves and what's happening in your own homes, in your own family, and what kind of media you're gravitating to. That's where you're going to find how you affect this change. But you're right. It's a reflection of what's happening in the human condition. It's not a reflection of a few who are choosing to feed us this stuff. There's a certain argument that says, well, we've been force-fed it for so long, it's what we're used to eating. But I just don't buy that. I see people in this field trying to make change, and I see them failing miserably. Until people want to be fed a more healthy diet, they're going to continue to get O.J. Chases and Kim Kardashian and Snooki.
Oh, please don't start with Snooki.
Yes.
I need boo-boo, y'all.
Boo-boo.
Okay. The show is now descending into areas that we don't want to approach, but you get the picture. Now, one of the criticisms made of citizen hearing on disclosure, and one of the things that Leslie Kane maintains in her own treatment of the subject is, don't say we're being visited by E.T. when you go to a scientist or a soldier or a government official. What you say is, look at all the weird things that are happening, look at the evidence. The evidence points to something that is solid, intelligently controlled, tracked on radar, photographed, etc. Give them the evidence shorn of the conclusion, and let them investigate and reach their own conclusions, whatever it is. But if you walk in and say, E.T. is here, they'll look at you and say, get out of here.
That's true, and that's a good point, and that is one of the bedrocks of the Paracast. We've been championing this more conservative approach, and this approach that does not include any sort of conclusion that isn't open-ended, because we don't know what we're dealing with. We have a certain amount of information that we can refer to. There's evidence that suggests that we're dealing with something highly technological that's non-human. But for instance, Stephen Bassett putting up a petition at We the People, the website for the White House, and having the word extraterrestrial in it is you're shooting yourself in the foot. Languaging is very important. And if you language something to suggest that you've already made up your mind and you're trying in a subtle but very specific way to force feed that conclusion onto others without the amount of slam dunk evidence you need to do that, then it does water down the possibilities of being taken seriously. And I really hope that at some point somebody can get through, Ron, somebody can get through to Stephen Bassett that we should be a little more conservative in how we language what we're trying to say. And by coming up with knee-jerk conclusions, you're pigeonholing yourself and you're cutting your nose off to spite your face, in my opinion.
There's another side to that. I mean, we need our Alex Joneses and we need our Stephen Bassetts. We need the people that are pushing all the different ends of the spectrum in order to get anything done. Without the lunatic fringe, you don't have the sane change. And the thing about Leslie is that, she was Bud Hopkins' girlfriend. She knows what's going on. And she has purposely put herself in a position where she will not take that position in order to mix into the mainstream in what she considers to be a more effective manner. But at the end of the day, is she getting anything done? You can go to a scientist and you can say, hey, I think it's ETs. Or you can go to a scientist and go, hey, here's a bunch of stuff. Either way, is the scientist going to investigate it or not? And if you show me a rate of success from her approach and her philosophy, then I would be a little bit more willing to say, she's gotten some ears of some influential people, but it's gone nowhere. Citizen Hearing, for all of its brashness and all of its assumptions, made some noise that some very important people listened to. And Leslie passed up a fantastic opportunity to jump on and be supportive of something. Instead, she defaulted. She said she was misquoted, whatever, and she could have done a lot worse job on Stephen Bassett and what he was trying to accomplish than she did. But at the end of the day, she passed up a fantastic opportunity to rally the troops. And rather, people have different, you start splitting hairs, everybody's got a different opinion. But at the end of the day, you need the Stephen Bassetts, and you need the Leslies, and you need the Stephen Greers, and you need the people that are even on the far complete other side offering logical explanations. You need all of them to get to the answers.
Yeah, but we don't need Alfred Weber.
Before we go on, I think in all fairness to Leslie, her personal relationship with Bud Hopkins is her private business. And I don't think that should be a factor in how she addresses her approach in the UFO field. We can argue that, please, without arguing a personal relationship, because there can be lots of reasons people have personal relationships, and doesn't mean she agreed with everything he did or he agreed with everything she did. That's their own private business. Let's just move past that, okay? All right, let's get on. Now that we've made the big splash with Citizen Hearing on Disclosure, do we see a sequel? Is there going to be a second Citizen Hearing on Disclosure or what?
Well, the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure is pretty much done. There's going to be other citizen hearings, but there's not going to be another Citizen Hearing on Disclosure.
It was a really good model, and as Ron brought up earlier, I mean, you can use this model across the board on any social issue that deserves attention and deserves a jump start, especially those types of issues that are being ignored by the bureaucracies and the corporations and the politicians. But I really think that it's important to use the gravitas of that particular model, and you can effect some change in at least getting people to look at it who normally wouldn't look at it. What you're doing is you're creating a scenario that's familiar and comfortable for people, especially politicians, and they need that comfort level. Politicians, Danny Sheehan, who I respect quite a bit, brought up a very good point, and he says that politicians don't lead. What they do is they lick their finger, stick it up in the air, and they go which way the wind's blowing. So if you create enough of a groundswell, of a grassroots groundswell, the politicians are going to want to jump ahead of that and lead the charge if they feel safe enough, and if they feel that it's a subject that's not going to taint them, that's not going to make them into fodder for their next election opponents, TV ads. So, again, I think it is a good model, but I really do have a problem with force-feeding our own conclusions onto a subject that is yet to be solved. Sure, there's all sorts of indications that would lead the average person to believe that we are being visited by extraterrestrials, but until we can prove that, you can't approach scientists, you can't approach politicians and put an emphasis on what has been the giggle factor the whole way. And I think it's important to think out our approach a little better, be much more careful with our languaging, and be more conservative in how we approach people that are very conservative. And I felt when I was going into this process of working with the production crew and filming this, I was a little jaded and cynical about its chances of success or even being even noticed.
If you have something to say, send us a tweet. You could reach us on Twitter. We're known as the Paracast. We have Ron James joining Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
Whether it's personal mail, whether it's business email, you want reliable, dependable delivery, freedom from spam, freedom from viruses. Well, Polaris Mail offers professional email hosting services for your personal or small business use. Each account uses 25 gigabytes of storage, an easy-to-use webmail interface, and full mobile sync. Sign up today for a 30-day free trial at polarismail.com, polarismail.com.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It just stopped responding. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Check it out. iWeb.com. That's iWeb.com.
Wouldn't it be nice to have one product that replaces more than 10, saving you space, time, and money? HempUSA.org has a complete full-spectrum vitamin mineral detox formulation called Micro Plant Powder Gold. Micro Plant Powder Gold contains 101 vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and iodine. Has a 100-year shelf life and is a perfect addition to any storage shelter. Make Micro Plant Powder Gold your choice. Call 888-910-4367 or visit HempUSA.org today.
HempUSA.org has a revolutionary wonder food for detoxing the body and rebuilding the immune system.
Microplant powder can help unclog arteries and soften heart valves while removing heavy metals, virus, fungus, bacteria, and parasites. Plus, it cleans and purifies the blood, lungs, stomach, and colon. Keep your body clean with Microplant powder. Order today at 888-910-4367 or visit HempUSA.org.
You've seen them on Doomsday Preppers. You've seen them on network television, Shipping Wars, and the History Channel. Now, the strongest shelters money can buy are here. Atlas Survival Shelters. Made in America from 10-foot diameter galvanized corrugated pipe up to 11 times stronger than square box shelters and built to last up to 200 years. And you won't believe the amenities. Atlas shelters contain microwaves, refrigerators, big screen TVs, water tanks, septic systems, bulletproof hatches, and much more. Virtually everything you have at home, just buried 20 feet deep and bomb-proof. See the amazing Atlas Survival Shelters at atlassurvivalshelters.com or call 1-855-4BUNKER. That's 855-4BUNKER or atlassurvivalshelters.com. Financing now available. Atlas Survival Shelters. Better prepared than scared.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joel Wallach, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy. There's no reason why you shouldn't live to be at least 100 and have a great time getting there. And I'm going to give you a free copy of my lecture that tells you exactly how to do it. In fact, after you've lived a long and healthy life, there should be only 2 documents in your medical chart, a birth certificate and a death certificate. I'm Dr. Wallach with a warning. If you have a 4-inch medical chart, if you take prescription drugs for high cholesterol, high blood pressure, arthritis, joint pains, and other health issues, the medical profession is failing you. They're using you for an ATM machine. My free lecture is going to reveal what pharmaceutical companies don't want you to know. There's been groundbreaking research and discoveries on how to effectively treat or eliminate over 900 different diseases naturally, and it's all in my free lecture called Deadly Recipe. So go to BeYoungAgain.com for a free copy of my jaw-dropping lecture. It may shock you, but it could save your life. So go to BeYoungAgain.com. Again, that's to BeYoungAgain.com.
Hi, this is Nick Pope. You're listening to the Paracast.
Producer Ron James, Chris O'Brien, and Gene Steinberg on this week's episode. And we're talking about the medium and the message and how to get the word out there and how to get people interested in the subject. Now, if it's going to be grassroots, if you're going to get the people involved.
Well, that's why the internet, Gene, is really important. And Ron has come up with a very interesting approach called Ivolve TV, which I think is at the vanguard of utilizing the wonderful opportunities that exist for grassroots, organizing and creating momentum in the culture, and that's the internet. It's one of the last things that we really have that exemplifies that democratic, sort of idea of free speech and of being able to get out a message to a vast amount of people worldwide. And I think Ivolve TV is a step in the right direction. And I think we should have Ron give us kind of an overview of what Ivolve TV is and where he came up with the idea and where he plans to take it.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Back when I first started making the kind of conscious media productions that I've done, I built a formula that basically involves setting up these little studios and shooting these inexpensive pieces and then marketing them on DVD to independently owned stores and bypassing the entire media distribution machine, and did fairly well with it. But I was always wishing that the technology on the web would get to the point where there would be a much more streamlined way of doing it. And in the last year, I was able to put together all of the different elements necessary to do this. And I created what I call the future of the television network. And while it's still in its infancy, the model itself, I believe, is going to be the trend as more and more people are gravitated towards media that is delivered directly to them instead of through gatekeepers and at the behest of advertisers. So I created a website called ivolvetv.com. What it is it's got pay-per-view movies, original programming that you can subscribe to. It's all done on a basis that is designed to make sure that the filmmaker gets paid. It flies in the face of the YouTube ripoffs, and it flies in the face of the people that today think that just because somebody makes a film, they should give it away for free. I say to people, when we did the citizen hearing, we actually had people complaining that we were charging $3.83 to watch it. And one guy actually sent us an email wanting his $3.83 back because he didn't feel that he should have to pay for the citizen hearing video because he was downloading it and putting it on YouTube, and he thought that he was doing the world a favor and should get his $4 back. It just blew me away. In the future of media, believe me, people, if you want good media, you got to pay the people that are producing it. And so we've created Ivolve TV as an online pay-per-view platform, and we're democratizing it by making everybody who's involved, like if you have a website, you can pick videos that are on Ivolve TV. You can sell them through your website, and people can watch them right there on the spot. They don't have to have a subscription, although we offer it. And we do events like the citizen hearing. We stream the citizen hearing to a little under 10,000 people in 2 languages live right out of Washington. And certainly you have the problems that you have with web streaming, but we had an overall fantastic success. And so we're doing live events of this nature. We're working with independent filmmakers. We've got Sirius on there from our favorite person that we were just talking about. We've got a whole slew of UFO movies that you can pop on and watch for $9.99 for the whole playlist. And we're opening it up to other filmmakers, bring their films in. We pay the largest percentage of royalties in the industry to filmmakers for letting us be the facilitator of their pay-per-view streaming. We offer the platform to people. Anybody now can be in the pay-per-view video business. We can give them everything they need to paste and click, and there they go. And so we're developing original shows now that are going to be subscription-based. We've brought in some people like Rob Simone is going to be working with us on a show, and some others that are just creating fantastic shows about topics that we believe people want to know. The next advances in paranormal phenomenon, the UFO field in a good journalistically approached manner, what's happening with alternative agriculture, how we can make the world a better place by getting rid of the GMOs and these companies that are trying to pollute the planet. Very conscious topics, all available in a cool platform. So it's ivolvetv.com. It's, like I said, it's still in its infancy, but go check it out and see what we have to offer. And we really do believe that this is where media and media delivery is going. You can't have a YouTube model for long where people produce media and they get paid pennies for putting it on, because cameras cost money, houses cost money, food costs money. And so what's happening is, unless you want to see the whole world more addicted to videotape of somebody's cat dancing, we've got to come up with a way that monetizes media to pay filmmakers and a way that enables filmmakers to make a living and keep producing the kind of stuff they want to produce. And so that's what we're doing with Ivolve TV. We're moving away from the trend of marginalizing content creators, moving them back into the spotlight and giving them a platform where they can have success instead of just being raked over the coals by unscrupulous distributors.
Let me ask you a question here. Is there a possibility or something that would be considered with regard to putting Ivolve TV on some of these set-top boxes like a Roku or an Apple TV as another channel?
That's the next step. We're developing apps now. Pretty soon, you're going to be able to pop open your Samsung VCR, and there'll be an Ivolve TV app, and you just download it, and you can watch whatever you want.
I'm thinking in terms of what Apple has, because Apple is starting to add more and more channels to their Apple TV.
Yep.
And something like this would be interesting. Right now, they're still adding mainstream stuff like Watch ESPN and HBO Go or something like that.
Well, if you weren't so video averse, we could have a Paracast, full visual and audio along with guests. And I mean, the technology is just leaping forward. I think it's up to the real creative minds out there to mold the platforms in such a way that it serves everyone. Ron brings up a very good point. You have your people out there like the twins who shall not be named, mixing in possibly just wonderful evidentiary videos, along with some of the most hoaxed videos you could possibly ever imagine. My favorite is the alien being dragged behind the car. I don't know how many million hits that got. It's up to us. And Ron brought up a very good point. The market tends to follow where the interest is, and if people are slowly brought into a place of being educated, these types of ideas, I think, will flourish. And it's got to be a win-win for everybody concerned. If you're some pimply 15-year-old kid in your mom's basement spending 2 months doing a 2-minute hoaxed CG UFO video, there should be a channel for that, but people should be educated to know that that's what they're looking at. A lot of people don't have the educational and research background, and they haven't done the work. And there's a lot of people that P.T. Barnum was talking about. There's a sucker born every minute, and we have to take the suckers and give them their own sort of, suck on this channel, and then for everyone else who are true seekers and really do their own research and are interested in educating themselves in a proper manner, these people need a place to go as well. There's a lot of people out there that are not happy with how the system is misserving us, and they want alternatives. They want to know where to go to get non-GMO foods, or where to go to get quality alternative health solutions and options, and where to go to find out the proper way to investigate paranormal subjects, unlike a lot of the reality shows out there that fabricate the evidence and that sort of thing. So, I think that this is a real major step in the right direction, and I'm really glad that Ron has put a lot of thought, a lot of energy, a lot of resources into getting this thing off the ground. And it would be great to somehow partner up with him with the Paracast, and maybe, for instance, come up with a show that educates people how to properly investigate paranormal phenomena.
Well, as far as being video averse is concerned, I don't mind. As far as being video averse is concerned, I don't want my face on camera, but I don't mind having my voice in the background.
Yeah, well,
I don't mind having the camera on you or on the guests.
We'll just silhouette you, Gene.
Well, I could also wear a mask. Or I could be like the unknown comic. Remember the unknown comic, a guy named Murray Langston? The bag on his head. He told the worst jokes in the world, but he carved out a career.
Well, you could also be, we could call you Triumphant, the comedy insult dog.
Well, I have a dog here. I could use his face.
Yeah.
Gene, a place to start would be go through our site, or let Chris go through our site. We've got some fantastic films there. Pick out the ones that you think your audience would be interested in, and we can give you a playlist that you can embed directly on the Paracast website, where your clients could go to this page, pick out a UFO film they want to watch, or watch every one in the playlist, pay for it right there, and without ever leaving your website, watch the movie pay-per-view.
I'll tell you what, folks. I'll tell you what. Let's let our listeners decide. If you want to see that kind of service, and we're going to expand the offerings of the Paracast, we'll get together with Ron and set something up. We have Ron James joining Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit, and carting to a private bank, having it led back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Ted Anderson, I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
I have bought a few bottles of Heart and Body Extract and have to say that it certainly does work.
That's what Jack from Michigan had to say after his experience with heart pain and what he did to treat it with Heart and Body Extract.
I actually had a huge heart flutter. I was also having some edema around my ankles and very worrisome clot in my right leg that would happen from time to time. I was trying to sleep.
Heart and Body Extract is all natural with no negative side effects. It will help repair or correct past problems associated with the heart and body circulation.
After my second bottle of Heart and Body Extract, all problems are now gone.
Order at hbextract.com or call 866-295-5305.
I ordered a third bottle of Heart and Body Extract for maintenance, as I want to keep everything working.
Order Heart and Body Extract at 866-295-5305 or hbextract.com. Heart and Body Extract for a long and healthy life.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
So how about it, ladies and gentlemen, would you like to see maybe a special channel designed just for the Paracast from Ivolve TV?
You know, here's what we can do. Sure. We've got a fantastic collection of ghost films, a lot of which Chris and I have produced ourselves. We've got a couple new ones coming out that are just going to be absolutely amazing. And then we've got the UFO films, and we even have the entire citizen hearing on disclosure that you as an audience could go to the Paracast and for a nominal fee, watch them live at your discretion on any device you want. And so we could do that. We're talking about educational, enlightening, fun, topic-related stuff that y'all are interested in. And as an alternative, we could do Sharks Attack Supermodels in Lingerie. Just decide which one you'd rather see.
Brought to you by Fredericks of Hollywood and Victoria's Secret.
And Coca-Cola and Kotex.
Well, if you heard some of the ads we run, because, you know, we're on the same radio network as the one, the only Alex Jones.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, you know, at least he gets people thinking. Sometimes what he has to say, a lot of times, is kind of wacky, to put it mildly.
Well, you know, Chris and I shot a fantastic video with none other than David Icke, and that is another video that we can include. It's called Our Time to Shine. It's David and I talking for 70 minutes about Barack Obama shortly after the election. And although some of the information in it is dated, it does basically show that David Icke has the potential to be called a prophet.
Uh-oh. I'm going to ask you some questions now, Ron. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back to 2008 and 2009. Obama is elected, and you're talking to David Icke, and what did he predict?
Well, he predicted that, you know, Obama was basically just another figurehead, same or different side of the same coin, and that shortly after his election, he was going to completely change. And we all know that sometime either right after he got elected, before he took office, or shortly after, somebody put him down in the basement, and he just hasn't been the same since.
That always happens with the president. We go back, for example, to Jimmy Carter, and people thought, you know what, he saw a UFO. Maybe he would get something done once he got into the White House, and that's what always happens. Someone is elected, they talk to the people, they go down to the basement, they communicate with the people they communicate with, and they come out of it, and suddenly what they did and what they promised is no longer promised, no longer exists.
You know, you got to wonder what happens. I mean, it's almost like the Alien movies where people are replaced by pods. And in fact, David, you know, kind of thinks that maybe that's what happens. But I was saying that you kind of wonder, these guys they get elected, then they come out and they've been changed. And it's like that movie where pods replace the people. And David kind of thinks that too. He's like, oh yeah, it's not Obama anymore. He's been replaced by a shape-shifting reptile. It's all part of the same bloodline. Obama, Dick Cheney, they're all cousins, right? So, you know, at the end of the day, something happens to these guys. And you have to wonder, what is it that they're told that could be so shaking that they go into office just having these radical visions of change, and they come out of whatever is revealed to them, and all of a sudden they're just playing the same old game. You know, it's like, what is it they're being told? I mean, is it something like, you know, don't worry about it. The whole planet's going to get wiped out by an asteroid. It happens every X number of years. That's why we're building all these underground bases, save what we can. It's all a dog and pony show. So sit down and enjoy it. Or, you know, what is it that these guys are being told or being threatened with that makes them change so radically? Because I honestly believe that Barack Obama was an idealistic guy with true vision, and, you know, and a human being, and he still is, you know, but he has been way tempered, and he has been fit to the system rather than the system being fit to him. So what do you think happens to these guys?
I think it's not so much being replaced by the pod people, but no. I think it is being told things.
Yeah.
Told things by the NSA, by secret intelligence people, being given the first realistic, honest view of what's going on inside the government, and realizing that in order to survive and not to have an accident occur, they've got to play ball. Do the best they can, but they've got to play ball.
Well, I need to kind of add this. This is a pretty interesting story I heard last night at the ET working group, ET media group that meets once a month at Ron's studio. Well, it's interesting that this subject came up about what these politicians are told once they get into office. Last night at Ron's studio, they had their monthly ET media group gathering that Stephen Bassett sort of chairs and puts together. And the guest speaker was Jesse Ventura's son, Tyrell Ventura. And he told a very interesting story that I'm not sure many of our listeners are aware of about his dad. As soon as he was elected, much to everyone's surprise, governor of Minnesota, it was quite I think, a wake-up call to the status quo and the powers that be. Because one day he sat down early in his administration when he was taking office. He sat down and he noticed that there was a meeting scheduled for the end of the day, but the actual person he was supposed to be meeting with, the name was blank on his schedule. So he asked his advisor, his secretary, whoever put the schedule together, and they said, well, it's actually the CIA. It wants to meet with you. And so, Jesse was a special ops guy, and I think he did have some dealings a little bit here and there with citizens in action, or Christians in action, as they are fondly referred to in the spec op community. And so at the end of the day, he went down there, and there were 23 CIA operatives or officers, or I don't know what you'd want to call them, but they were all, card-carrying members of that particular organization, agency. And they sat in a semicircle around him, and they started pumping him with questions. And Jesse said, well, wait a minute. Why don't you introduce yourselves? And Ty said about half of them actually gave, Jesse their names. But basically, they started peppering him about how he managed to win the governorship of Minnesota. And Jesse could tell right away that they were interested in figuring out how he was able to do something that they were unable to predict. And they were trying to figure out, his methodology and how he actually pulled it off. And I guess the upshot of the story is that Jesse walked away from the meeting with the firm, feeling that they were trying to figure out how he did it so that they could somehow circumvent it ever happening again. So there's an example of a governor who is elected, much to the surprise of the entrenched powers that be, and then being quizzed by none other than our own, Central Intelligence Agency officials. And one of the things that kind of puzzles me is, number one, what is the CIA doing interested in a governor when their mandate at this point in time was only foreign affairs, and they were not authorized to operate domestically. So what's wrong with that picture? Of course, now with the Patriot Act and the NDAA and all these other developments since 9/11, of course, the CIA can operate wherever they want now. But at the time, I think this was 98, this was not the case. And you do have to wonder what these guys are told, what sort of Damocles is held over their heads or their families' heads in order to get them to play the game as it's been agreed upon at some high level of power. And I think that this is a rather disturbing element that's involved in our political process, the undue influence of the military, industrial, intelligence, corporate complex. And, we're going downhill fast with all this. The haves are getting fewer and have more, and the have-nots are getting less and getting angry. So this is something that is going to come to a head at some point. I don't think the American people are going to put up with it's going to have to reach a tipping point. So I just wanted to pass along that story. I also quizzed Tyrell about the Skinwalker Ranch episode that I was involved with Jesse's show, Conspiracy Theory.
And I'm going to ask you that in the next segment.
Okay.
We want to know what Mr. Ventura and you talked about. With Gene and Chris and Ron James joining us, you're in the Paracast.
Is there a secret UFO agenda? Do strange creatures from the darkest corners of the mind roam the Earth? Is there evidence for mind control, time travel, or devious government conspiracies? Find out the inside scoop on the latest conspiracies, paranormal activity, and Freudian phenomena when you subscribe to Tim Beckley's Conspiracy Journal. It's jam-packed with stories, special book and DVD promotions, And the best news, it's absolutely free, sent right to your mailbox. Plus, a bonus free email newsletter sent out every Friday. Simply send an email with your name and address to Mr. UFO at webtv.net. That's Mr. UFO at webtv.net. Find out what they don't want you to know.
Have you ever felt like the United States government knows way too much about your financial affairs? I continue to hear stories about property seizures, frozen bank accounts, confiscation of stocks and bonds. It makes me wonder if the U.S. citizen will ever again have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Unfortunately, with the Drug and Money Laundering Act, the IRS Revenue Ruling 6045 of 1984, and the Trading with the Enemy Act and Franklin D. Roosevelt's Executive Order of 1933, some precious metal holdings are subject to government intervention. For this reason, Midas Resources has prepared a report explaining the boundaries of trading precious metals privately. Whether if you have any intention of trading with Midas Resources or not, I have instructed my representatives to give this report out free. Call for your free copy at 1-800-686-2237. When investing, always proceed with caution. Again, call 1-800-686-2237. Exercise your legal right to trade metals privately. 1-800-686-2237.
What's safer and cheaper than prescription drugs?
Glad you asked. The answer is Renovation Teas. Herbal remedies are much safer and much cheaper than prescription drugs. Taste great, and most importantly, herbal teas are effective and non-addictive. Renovation Tea is especially unique, and here's why. We spent years researching herbs and their beneficial properties. Renovation Teas uses only 100% organic, fair trade herbs. Our teas are blended towards specific ailments and health conditions, such as diabetes, blood pressure, anxiety, libido, detox, and much more. All Renovation Teas are formulated and hand-filled in Arkansas. Take care of yourself naturally, the way Mother Nature intended. Order Renovation Teas at renovationtea.com or call 870-784-3121. That's 870-784-3121. Renovation Teas. Renovate your health one bag at a time.
Stop wasting countless hours scouring the web for survival gear when you can visit GearUpCenter.com. We specialize in the latest, most innovative products you can't find anywhere else. Products like the Crowell Multi-Tool, aquaponics systems, and our fully loaded bug-out survival trailer.
Tim Rawson here. I created Gear Up Center to bring you the latest quality-tested survival gear at the best price. Be sure to catch me again next season on National Geographic's Doomsday Prepper, where I'll be demonstrating my new Excalibur shotgun adapter system.
Get the gear your life can depend on at GearUpCenter.com.
And remember, prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Attention preppers, think you've got everything? Think again. You need Rescue Tape, the ultimate emergency repair tape used by the U.S. Army on trucks and tanks as part of their battle damage repair kit. Rescue Tape is 20 times stronger than duct tape. Rescue Tape repairs leaky pipes and hoses up to 500 degrees, waterproofs electrical connections, and even works right over oily, dirty surfaces. Rescue Tape belongs in every prepper's survival kit, bug-out bag, and emergency kit. Get rescued or just get stuck. Learn more at rescuetape.com.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
This is another one of those special NSA episodes of the Paracast, ladies and gentlemen. We know they are listening now. We know they are here. We know that maybe they have fans. You know, if you're at the NSA and you're listening to the Paracast, if you're a fan, send us a tweet or something, you know.
Yeah. We need our own deep throat to tell us when we're skirting on that line that might get us renditioned.
I think that's already happened. That's what it is. That explains everything. But you were about to say, you were talking with Ty about Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting. He pretty much said that it was the True TV corporate side that was involved in changing the show from what I was told by one of the executive producers was some of the best work he'd ever done. It was an incredibly good, fantastic episode, and then by the time it came out, it was just merely good, which I almost have a problem with even putting that tag on it. But
we should go back a little bit here. You were asked to be part of this show.
Well, I helped develop the show. I was involved from the very beginning, developing the show, the subjects they were going to cover, some of the particular angles they were going to take. The show was about Robert Bigelow, the Budget Suites hotel chain owner and multi-billionaire, who has recently been tasked by NASA and hired by NASA to supply modules for the U.S. space program for the space station. And his ultimate goal is to put a hotel in space with Bigelow Aerospace. He's also the one that the FAA entered into an agreement with so that when anyone calls the Federal Aeronautics Administration with a UFO report, it is automatically forwarded to Bigelow Aerospace. A lot of people aren't aware of that, and I like to keep reminding people of this. The show was about Robert Bigelow, but of course the Skinwalker Ranch is one of the more visible projects that he's involved with, at least in the realm of UFOs and the paranormal. And as we all know, I was involved very early on, back in the mid-'90s, investigating the case before Bigelow was involved. When Bigelow bought the ranch, then he put a whole team of crack scientists up there. We don't know exactly what kind of data they ended up gathering. We do know that some amazing events occurred. Word of these events, some of them have come out in the George Knapp, Colm Kelleher book, Hunt for the Skinwalker, which is about the Sherman Ranch up there. When we went up there for the Conspiracy Theory show to do the shoot, we had a couple of interesting experiences while we were there. But by the time 8 months went by and the show was revised, I don't know how many times, at least 8 to 10 times, if not more, the show was watered down into a puff piece that ended up at the very end summing up Bigelow's interest in the UFO question as, well, he's building an escape pod in space, so when the aliens invade Earth, he has a place to escape to his inflatable space station that he owns, and which is ludicrous. And, of course, I had some problems with the editing of the show. I was taken, my comments were twisted around, and actually they had me saying the opposite, the exact opposite of what I actually said and what I stand behind. And Ty apologized publicly there and said, look, I'm really sorry that this happened. The show has been taken out of production. True TV didn't realize what they were getting into. It was too much of a hot potato for them. They had to, obviously he didn't say this, but obviously I think the corporate side was bowing to pressure and trying to exert undue pressure on the actual content. He said they would get these lists of revisions from corporate types who were trying to get creative. And when that happens, you might as well just kiss the project goodbye, because suits are not normally creative types. They're bean counters. That's their job. And when they get involved in the creative process, it really messes things up. So he was upset about how the network handled the show. Made a public apology for at least my particular issues that I had with my on-camera participation and how it was portrayed. And he's gone on, has a new channel on YouTube called Buzzsaw, which looks like a really good idea. He and Sean Stone, Oliver Stone's son, have their own show that looks at, important controversial topics of the day. And with no filter, they're actually covering the Snowden affair with the NSA and a lot of very, I think, important current affair topics. So it was very interesting to get an insider's view and subsequent apology for stuff that was out of his control. I mean, he wasn't in the editing room changing my dialogue around. That was all done by others. And that's one reason why the show is not going to be on the air anymore, is because they just did not want to bow to that kind of undue influence.
You were on another show once upon a time with a guy who's associated with UFO Magazine, Bill Burns.
Right.
Where they also edited what you did, what you said, and made it very much opposite of what you expected.
Well, not opposite. I was explaining about my theories of hotspot areas and portal areas as it related to my work as a field investigator in the San Luis Valley of Colorado. And they edited this particular interview to sound like I was talking about the Sedona area. It's not that they changed it to 180 degrees. All they did was move the location that I was referring to and made it sound like all this work that I was talking about was about Sedona, and it wasn't. It was about an area that was 350, 400 miles away.
Why did they do that?
Well, because Bill Burns loves Sedona, and he wants Sedona to be the center of the universe, the ufological universe. And unfortunately, that's not the case. And I don't blame him personally, but I sure have an issue with Dave Pavoni, the guy who was in charge of production. And I understand they've written a book about the UFO Hunters show where they go through episode by episode and explain in book form the process of putting the show together, what they discovered, adding things that they left out. And I guess I am mentioned in there as being very unhappy with how they treated my particular involvement in the project. I think it was show number 5, season 1 of UFO Hunters. So, this comes with the territory. With the media, you never know what a creative editor is going to do with your particular, sound bites. And, out of 50, 60 shows I've done, I've only really had issues with 4 of them. And so I think that's a pretty good track record, and I'm pretty proud that I've managed to escape fairly unscathed.
Let me talk about Bill Burns. I asked him about that once. I said, what happened here? He blames the producer. He said he had nothing to do with it. So there you go.
Well, normally the on-air talent doesn't have anything to do with the post-production process. Maybe they're brought in to sign off on stuff or to have them pat the producers on the back or something. But generally, once that show is in the can, it's out of your hands. And that's why projects like Ivolve TV, Ron's work, Ivolve TV, and Tracy and James's film, I think are real steps in the right direction, because what we're doing is we're losing the filters and the corporate control that stands between the creative process and its final form as it's presented out to the audience. So I think the internet is really an important player in this whole thing. I think that there's a lot of potential for the old model of corporate controlled broadcast media to be circumvented and to have more pure, unfiltered programming presented out there to the market.
And we're going to have to succumb to some corporate reflections right now. With Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKE soft.com. lemkesoft.com. LEMKE soft.com.
What if you had a witness everywhere you drive? Now you can with videodashcam.com. From truckers to motorcyclists, the handy video dashcam can be used for insurance claims, accidents, police encounters, road rage, or natural disasters. Has instant screen playback and optional night vision. Get the best quality, affordable HD dash cameras available at videodashcam.com. That's videodashcam.com. Or call 855-855-2022. Always have a witness with Video Dashcam.
We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit and carting to a private bank, having it led back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Hi, Ted Anderson. I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
Got a simple question for you. Can you sell? Yes? Okay. Can you sell the intangible? If yes, and you'd like to work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, with no overtime, no weekends, if you're passionate about not closing sales, but about opening relationships, if you truly have a desire to serve global clients who need your advertising expertise, and you're local to the Twin Cities and Burnsville, are hardworking, self-driven, with experience in sales, marketing, or advertising, are personable and a whiz on the phone, GCN wants to talk with you right now. GCN, the Genesis Communications Network, is one of the largest independent talk radio networks in the world, and we're hiring right now. We offer benefits and an excellent commission structure. Experience preferred, but we'll train the right person. Is that you? Submit your resume today to advertise@gcnlive.com. Again, that's advertise@gcnlive.com. Come work with the Genesis Communications Network, an equal opportunity employer.
Hi, my name is Annette, and due to menopause symptoms for nearly 2 years, I suffered severe hot flashes, which prevented me from sleeping all night. It was so hard to work because I continued all day to have the hot flashes from hell. I was exhausted and depleted. After only 3 weeks on One World Way, I have no hot flashes, and I'm sleeping normally again. I feel energized and strong. This is an amazing product.
It is a little-known fact that every single cell of your body is supposed to produce 10% of its protein content as glutathione. But due to toxicity and aging, it does not. Could glutathione be a missing factor in optimal cell function for your entire body? If you restore the optimal glutathione levels in your cells, especially your glands and organs, then as a result, your glands and organs work better. Imagine the quality of life improvement you might have. To order One World Way, call 888-988-3325. That's 888-988-3325. Or visit oneworldway.com. That's oneworldwhey.com.
Hi, my name is Richard Dolan. You're listening to the Paracast.
So Chris is enjoying the sunshine, enjoying the ocean at Laguna Beach, California. With Ron James, we're talking about whether it's possible to make changes in the way that documentary films, anything educational is presented. We can get away from our culture of reality shows, which to my mind are perfectly awful. I mean, if I'm going to watch TV and I want to watch something that's fiction, I'll watch a scripted drama. Sometimes they're pretty good.
Yeah, I like Deadliest Catch. I've been a fan of that show since it came out. I was almost a Alaska fisherman, so I have a personal kind of just interest in the subject. But I think out of all the reality shows, there are a few good ones, and Deadliest Catch is up there at the top of my list. I think that's a very, very well done show. These guys are extremely brave to go out and crab fish in the Bering Sea. And I think, Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think 2 guys from the crews have been severely injured or died during the production of 7 years of the show.
Yeah, they have. Another one that's very popular and very frightening. We have an 11-year-old here, and I'm always trying to turn him on to things like sci-fi and alien stuff and ghost stuff and get him into that kind of thing. I accidentally let him watch Swamp People, and he just became so hooked on that show that now he's talking like the people. He doesn't want his tooth to grow back. He downloaded the Flash game, so now he's catching fake alligators on his iPad. It's just not good. And I'm like, Jonathan, what are you going to be when you grow up? I thought you wanted to be an Apple engineer. No, I want to go to the swamp and be Troy. I want to pop gators. I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? What has this evil media machine done to the child of this house? So, and then the rest of the world is watching this show, and they see these guys like Troy and these toothless rednecks out there in the middle of the swamp going around shooting alligators, and they're probably sitting over in China and Russia going, really? How did these guys get where they are? I don't get it. So, yeah, it's sad. The level of reality show, they're getting worse and worse. They're just looking for the most outrageous, crazy, disturbed characters they can find and giving them their own TV shows.
Yes, they're not giving us a TV show. I'm not looking for a TV show. I don't want to be on TV. As I said, I would be the voice behind the camera. Watch the people, watch the action, but I'll stay behind. I still have to think about the mask, though. You think maybe the unknown comic mask doesn't make it? Maybe the mask from the movie The Shadow, the one with Alec Baldwin, remember he wore? It wasn't really a mask. What it was is that his face became very hard and distorted. when he became the Shadow.
You could put on the Guy Fawkes mask, the Occupy mask.
Sure.
The Vendetta mask.
Vendetta mask,
Yes.
right.
I can go for that, but some people think that's the way I look now.
Well, then you wouldn't have to give credit to the mask makers.
Hey, that's right. That's good.
The point is that if you want to be on television and do it anonymously, there's certainly ways to do that.
We'll just shoot the back of your head.
Yeah, there's probably a whole mystique we could build,
It's just my voice. I am an amorphous voice.
Yeah, you could be the disembodied voice of the show, and every once in a while you can fill in and be a EVP. What was that? It was a voice from nowhere. No, he's part of the cast. No, really, it was another voice from nowhere. No, really, it's part of the cast. He's faking it. Oh, yeah, shoot, sorry.
Well, I can always become a Dalek, a robotic creature that says, exterminate.
Yeah, or you could be a cartoon character.
So this is the new Paracast challenge to the audience. Help us design the show you would like to see us do, and we will do it, and then you can pay $1.99 to watch it. That is the new agreement that media producers and the people who watch their stuff need to have. Tell me what you want, I'll make it for you, and then help me to cover what it costs me to do it so that I can have a nice life. And what's happening in media now is I make a film, and the audience absolutely expects that they should be able to watch it on YouTube for free. And then if I make a stink about it, I had a guy that kept putting Dead Whisper on YouTube. I chased him down 5 times. And the last time he took it down, he put an explanation on his YouTube channel that the a-hole who made the movie made him take it off.
Well, isn't that just too bad?
Be kidding me.
Isn't that just too bad that you dare to assert your intellectual property rights and your copyright rights?
Well, apparently you have none. And this one guy wrote us a letter at Citizen Hearing lambasting us for not making the Citizen Hearing free. And I said to him in my reply, I said, well, I mean, would you go to work and do your job for free just because people think they're entitled to clean dishes? That was a little comeback. Yeah, it was a great comeback. But, it illustrates a point. Nobody works for free, but for some reason, filmmakers, content creators, and social movers and shakers are like we owe something to the planet, and we should be sleeping in our vans. And, it's just not the way it's going to work. And if people continue to look at content creators and intellectual property as something that's not just as real as shoplifting a steak at Ralph's, then we're going to have a problem with the quality of media. There is a revolution happening right now where good quality, truthful, honest media can move the agenda of the planet forward in a positive way, but it still has to be supported. And that's what we're trying to do with Ivolve TV. And hopefully the audience is going to get that, and they're going to say, you know what, I don't mind. It's just like Apple came out with iTunes. People didn't mind suddenly paying the 99 cents for a piece of music because they made it easy. And I think it's the same way with media. Even YouTube, Netflix, all of the big studios are moving towards a pay-per-view model. YouTube is rolling it out. They're going to have pay-per-view channels. And people need to get on board with this idea. You can have wonderful media that's almost tailored to your exact needs. And if you're just willing to pay a little bit of money to watch it, it'll get better and better and better. And that's what we're doing with Ivolve TV.
But do you replace the TV networks and the cable networks with that, or is that something that will happen 20 years from now, or will you just change them?
It's already changing.
It's already changing. And if you go to ronaldjamestelevision.com, and there's nothing on the website, I'm not trying to promote it, but I left it up there because it was my very first website when I got into the video business. And there's a thing on there where I said that the future of television is more specialized program for lesser but more loyal audiences. And what I mean by that is that as the ability to deliver media increases and the people in charge of it decrease and the cost of producing it gets less and less, then your personal tastes are going to be catered to in unprecedented ways. If you want to learn how to build an ultralight airplane, you're going to be able to go watch a whole show about building an ultralight airplane. If you want to know how to skin a red snapper after a day of fishing, there's going to be a fishing show that will teach you that. And the quality of that stuff will get better if the industry figures out how to monetize it. And the need for it will expand. And pretty soon these channels that are doing all this mainstream stuff, you're always going to have mainstream, but more and more people are paying attention to more and more specialized media. And so we just need to encourage that market, and we need to encourage that revolution. And we need to do it in such a way that makes it possible to make it better and better. And so I think that there's room for both, but I think that the specialized focused stuff, if you want to see a show about electronic voice phenomenon, wouldn't it be great if you could go and just watch 4 or 5 films just about that were all really well done and for every interest?
We're going to widen the next segment of the show to talk about the things you're working on, Ron. And maybe you're working on with Chris. Reveal all the secrets right now, all the spoilers. Let's start right now. We have about a minute. Okay, well, we're being attacked by tricksters. Let me just get my spray. I have trickster spray here, and I use to swat those things down.
Hey, look, man, I'm sitting across from Chris in front of this mic, and I have to tell everybody listening, no matter how frightening that sounded, it looked far worse.
I've seen Chris do this, Sometimes I sit across the mic from him on a rare occasion. The most recent time, though, I put him in the other room with the dog.
Well, somebody mentioned on the forum at forum.theparacast.com that they missed my trickster voice, and I hadn't done it in so long they didn't even remember the last time. So that was for you.
Okay, this voice is for you. I was thinking here, too, we'll start collecting.
You can have Budweiser suing you for copyright.
Let them get in line. What we could do is maybe have a collection of particular guests doing the Paracast and just play the Paracast with different voices and see what people like the best and use that for the show.
Hey, let people in the audience do open auditions. I'll give away a free month to Ivolve TV for the winner with the best The Paracast. Or, whatever.
That wasn't bad.
With Gene and Chris, you're in
The Paracast.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
If you want to get your website online and you need reliable service, first-class service at the lowest possible price, there's only one place to go. Well, DreamHost has a special promotion with our show where they'll offer you unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, one-click web apps such as WordPress, 24/7 support. You can save over $55. You want to know how? Go to dreamhost.com/radio, dreamhost.com/radio. Whether it's personal mail, whether it's business email, you want reliable, dependable delivery, freedom from spam, freedom from viruses. Well, Polaris Mail offers professional email hosting services for your personal or small business use. Each account uses 25 gigabytes of storage, an easy-to-use webmail interface, and full mobile sync. Sign up today for a 30-day free trial at polarismail.com, polarismail.com.
It's hard to imagine when things are going reasonably well, just how quickly things can change. But what would it take? Economic collapse? Massive crop failure? Chemical or biological attack? So many situations could find you in the grocery looking to pick up food for your family only to find that the shelves are empty. There's nothing. Don't let that happen. Act today to make sure that if it ever comes to that, you and your family will be provided for. Visit freezedryguy.com to look at the wide variety of survival foods available. Freeze-dried foods from the Freeze Dry Guy store longer, rehydrate faster, are nutritionally superior to, and taste better than any other long-term storage food available. Visit freezedryguy.com or call toll-free 866-404-3663. freezedryguy.com.
American gardeners and fellow patriots, make the right choice with your money, time, and your family food supply. Choose 100% pure heirloom seeds in the Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com. Why spend more? The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com is only $37.95 and includes 20 varieties of pure, hardy, easy-to-grow heirloom seeds. Yes, only $37.95. That's 70% less than our competitors. You could buy 3 Survival Seed Vaults for less than one of theirs. The Survival Seed Vault from MyPatriotSupply.com includes detailed planting and seed-saving instructions and ships same day. Plus, all orders over $49 ship free. MyPatriotSupply.com is American-owned by patriots like you, passionate about freedom and preparedness. Call now, 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Or discover more emergency preparedness items when you order at MyPatriotSupply.com. Choose the original. Choose the Survival Seed Vault at MyPatriotSupply.com.
Did you know that 50% of heart attacks are brought on by infections? Did you know that hospitals are breeding grounds for antibiotic-resistant bugs like MRSA? The environment is infected with parasites, and the mild winter means ticks with Lyme disease, mosquitoes with West Nile virus, and cold and flu viruses will be on the rise. Protect yourself with nature's natural anti-parasitic, antiviral, antifungal antibiotic, Allison, the heart of garlic. Get concentrated protection with Ali C and Ali Ban from Affinity Health Products. 1 capsule of Ali C equals 40 cloves of garlic or 100 garlic pills with no garlic breath. Ali Ban has Allison in spray, liquid, and cream forms with 3 times more strength than leading brands and costs less. Go to ally-c.com, spelled ALLI-c.com, or call 855-ALLISON. That's 855-255-4246. That's 855-255-4246. Protect yourself with Ali C and Ali Ban from Affinity Health Products at ally-c.com.
This is Jacques Vallée. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
No phlegm involved.
The Paracast.
You're listening to the Paracast. Calm down, Beavis. I can't. I've got an EVP up my butt. Shut up.
People think the show's going to the dogs, and they're right. We have Ron James joining us with Gene and Chris. We're trying to see who does the best voice of the Paracast. Notice I never do it. I will never do it. I think it's better if other people do it. Speaking of other projects, Ron, what are you working on in the near future?
Wow, it's a lot. You know, as part of my Ivolve TV business model, we are developing our own original shows. So we have 6 of them in the works right now. One of them is called The Biggest Dreamer, where we are going to follow people as they try to improve their lives by changing their inner belief systems. This is like The Apprentice meets The Secret. It's teaching people that in order to create change on the outside, they have to change on the inside. And we use, different people with different types of issues and basically teach them to manifest. It's about creating your own reality. So it's kind of a very cutting edge reality show that is, it's an example of what we're choosing to do. And what that is take models of programming that we know work and inject them with positive, conscious, educational, and transformational messages. So that's one. We're doing another one that's really exciting to me about alternative agriculture. I'm involved with vertical gardening, and it's a whole new technology for growing food that is it uses 10% of the water, grows 3 times as much food per square foot, and you can do it anywhere. And so I honestly believe that this is the way out of the GMO revolution. It is the way to solve the world's hunger problem. So we're making a show about that. We're making a show called Quantum Paranormal, which is all about scientific explanations that are arising for paranormal activity. We're making another show with Nick Delgado about the cutting edge advances in nutrition and preserving youth, and a few more. You can read about them on the website. And then Chris and I have been shooting paranormal stuff for a really long time, and we've just got this archive of material that's never been released. So while Chris is here, we're going through everything and putting together, it's going to be a film. I haven't decided what to call it yet. It's going to be something that basically tells these little vignette stories. We've got guys getting scratched by ghosts where you see the wounds. We've got Amy April Allen, the star of the Dead Files, and some of her early work, just doing some unbelievable psychic mediumship. And just a host of stuff. Very interesting skinwalker stories, Bigfoot stories, some more EVP stuff. So we've got enough paranormal related material that's already in the can, already edited, that really needs to get out. So I haven't decided how we're going to release it yet. It's either going to be a film available on Ivolve TV or a show available on Ivolve TV. I'm pretty much at the point in my life now where everything I create, I'm going to put on my station, and anybody in the world can watch it. So we're just going to expand that. And I invite other filmmakers, if you've got content, talk to me about being on Ivolve TV, because it truly is, it's a turnkey system for all of you, and it's all about putting you first, the filmmakers, and letting you connect with your audience. So That's what it's all about. So we have a boatload of productions. I'm certainly not sitting still. Chris is out here helping with stuff that we've had in the pipeline for a really long time. So it's going to be great.
Chris, of course, you went out there to do some stuff, not just enjoy the beach and attend UFO meetings. So what projects are you working on with Ron?
Well, right now, of course, as Ron mentioned, we are going through some of these past in the can projects that we have and reformatting them based on the kind of end model that we see. Also, obviously, Stalking the Herd is moving ahead in leaps and bounds. I'm about a third done with the book that'll be out here at the end of the summer, beginning of the fall, which will be hopefully considered the definitive look and most comprehensive look and objective look at the unexplained livestock death phenomenon. And also, it's going to address humankind's incestuous relationship with cattle and livestock. And it's going to be crammed full of just mind-warping information and a blow-by-blow examination and unraveling of how the cattle mutilation phenomenon first got started and how it unfolded during the 70s and continues to today.
It sounds like a big task. Huge task.
Huge.
Well, we could use a few definitive pieces of coverage there because not all the coverage about cattle mutilation has really been very good, don't you think?
Well, it's been dominated by preconceived thinking. People tend to go into many paranormal subjects with their minds already made up, and then they run around looking for the data to support their foregone conclusions. I'm attempting to be as brutally objective about this whole mystery as humanly possible and really examine it and allow the top people in the field to state their case. I have a series of interviews that I'm doing with some of the people that have been involved over the years in this, investigating this and researching this mystery. And I want everybody to get their chance to throw out their best argument about what they think is involved in this and why and who the perpetrators are and what the possible agendas are. So this is going to be a pretty comprehensive, objective look at something that really does not get the kind of attention I think it deserves. I mean, we have the capacity right now in this country to slaughter, render, and process, upwards of 1,000, 1,200 animals an hour. And so we're mutilating a lot of cattle as we speak. And I think it's important for people to understand that beef cannot continue for long as a protein source. Cattle herds are devastating the planet, probably the second leading cause of planetary degradation, second only to humans. And this is a real dark horse kind of gorilla in the closet type subject that I really hope people are going to read this book and wake up a little.
All right. Well, is this also a pitch not to eat meat anymore?
No, not at all. No.
Okay, so how do you deal with it in a responsible, environmentally sensitive way?
Well, I think number one, people need to be educated. I think, for instance, to drive a car, you have to get a license. You have to go through a training and become licensed to have the privilege of driving on the roads. I think meat eating should be a privilege, and I think everyone who wants to eat meat has to go through a 3-day course that shows them the exact process that it takes for that meat to be raised, to be rendered, packaged, and presented to you, and everything that goes on in the process. And I'll bet you if you had to be licensed to eat meat, 50% of the population immediately would become vegetarian. If you had any idea of what it takes to get that piece of meat underneath that piece of plastic wrap in your supermarket, if you had any idea of that process, I'll bet you'd think twice every time you fired up that grill.
Are you saying even with sustainable ways of farming and with, free range, grass fed, no hormone,
yep,
it's still?
It should all be in there. And when I eat meat, which I don't very much anymore, I do try to stay away from it if it's possible and when it's possible. I'm very conscious and aware of what I'm doing. And it's, again, there are proper ways to do things. Cattle are only really detrimental to the environment when they stay in one place. If we could somehow move cattle around, they're actually very good for the environment if they're on the move. And there are sustainability issues that need to be addressed with the 1.37 billion cattle on the planet. You know, this is a very complicated subject, and it deserves much more attention and education than it's receiving.
Well, I won't ask about chicken, because I think those comments will get plucked from this episode. Ron James, tell our listeners where they can find more of your stuff.
Well, I've taken basically my entire video catalog and put it all on my network and the work of other people as well, and that's ivolvetv.com. It sounds easy, but it's just like the word evolve, only replace it with an I, and then the letters tv.com. So it's ivolvetv.com. And it's a pay-per-view channel. You can watch whatever you want for very reasonable prices and support the filmmakers that make it possible. And go sign up for our email list and let us keep you posted on what's happening as we evolve the future of the television network.
And Chris can be found at OurStrangePlanet.com. That's OurStrangePlanet.com. You can find us on Twitter, where we are known as the Paracast. You can also find us on Facebook. We have a Paracast fan club. In fact, we have 2 of them, and one day we'll make them into one. On the Paracast, Ron James, thanks for joining us on the show.
Oh, thank you, Gene. Really appreciate it.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible, Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.